Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 2 of our story. If you like this what if story and want to see part 3, let me know in the comments below. Before we start, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Also, check the description for more great content and my playlist. This story was posted by 𝗧𝗵𝗲𝗔𝗂𝘁𝗵𝗵 on Wattpad. Now let's start. In Jump City, people were going about their daily routines, and so were our heroes. Robin chased after 𝗵𝗲𝗔𝗂𝘁𝗵𝗵, while the rest of the team, except for Angel, followed. 𝗵𝗲 taunted them, saying they couldn't catch him, and leaped onto a building, firing a roll of wrapping paper at Raven, Star, and Beast Boy in the sky. The three were ensnared and began to fall. Terra quickly used her powers to lift a rock and save them. Cyborg fired a cannon while Robin shot a grapple hook, but 𝗵𝗲 magically transformed their weapons into water and a snake. Cyborg was drenched, and Robin tossed the snake aside, returning to his grapple hook. 𝗵𝗲 laughed and began to walk away, but suddenly Angel swooped down from the sky and struck him, causing 𝗵𝗲 to tumble to the ground. He growled and got back up, holding his head, only to see Angel descending rapidly towards him. 𝗵𝗲 jumped away using magic, but Angel changed direction, snatching 𝗵𝗲's hat and destroying it. 𝗵𝗲 let out a frustrated yell and transformed back into his normal human form, with all the money he had stolen spilling out from his head. The team gathered around Angel and Beast Boy. Robin complimented Angel on his work, and Beast Boy offered a high five. However, Angel growled and walked away angrily, prompting the team to step back as he flew back into the sky. Beast Boy wondered what was wrong, and Cyborg scratched his head in confusion. Star noted that Angel had seemed angry for the past couple of days, and Terra asked Raven if she had inquired about it. Raven replied that she had, but Angel always insisted he was fine. She decided to follow him, promising to meet the others back at the tower. On the tallest tower, Angel sat on the rooftop, gazing at the city view until Raven landed beside him. She greeted him and insisted it was time to talk. Angel asked what they needed to discuss, and Raven pointed out his anger, noting that he had been upset for several days. Angel denied it, looking away with a pout. Raven insisted that he was indeed angry and urged him not to dismiss it this time. With a sigh, Angel opened up to Raven about a recurring dream he had been experiencing. Raven encouraged him to share his feelings, assuring him that he never bothered her or the team. She cupped his cheek, and he chuckled, acknowledging her words. He leaned in and shared a brief kiss with her, but their moment was interrupted by the ringing of their phones. They both answered simultaneously, hearing Robin's voice on the other end, instructing them to return to the tower immediately as they had a visitor from Angel. Curious, Angel asked who it was, and Robin began to explain. Time passed, and in the living room of the tower, 𝗧𝗓 was chatting happily with two strangers while the team struggled to comprehend their presence. Suddenly, the door burst open, revealing Izuku, who was carrying Raven. He set her down and scanned the room until his gaze landed on the two strangers with 𝗧𝗓. He pointed at them, exclaiming in disbelief, though he refrained from using any harsh language in front of 𝗧𝗓. One of the strangers greeted him, while the other simply said, "Yo." Raven asked Izuku who they were, and he sighed deeply, introducing the two as 𝗧𝗓𝗪 and 𝗓𝗠𝗨, the second generation of Angel and Fallen Angel. The team was puzzled by this revelation, and 𝗓𝗨𝗪 quickly protested the label, but Izuku insisted it was true. The room fell silent until Robin broke the tension, asking why they were there. Izuku face-bombed as the team looked on in confusion. 𝗧𝗪𝗪 explained that they had come to inform them about the reopening of the gates of heaven and hell in the human world. The team gasped in surprise, and Izuku suggested that the strangers explain it to them, knowing they would be eager to help. 𝗓𝗨𝗪 mentioned that they couldn't close the gates as Izuku had done before, and 𝗧𝗪𝗪 added that the heaven gate was particularly complicated. The best they could do was buy some time until Izuku arrived. Izuku growled, clearly reluctant to go, and Cyborg asked how the gates had opened in the first place. 𝗧𝗪𝗪 hesitated, but 𝗓𝗨𝗪 chimed in, explaining that humans had opened the gates for various reasons, often summoning angels or devils to fulfill their desires. Beast Boy asked for examples, and Izuku grimly listed powers, money, and other unsavory things. The team nodded in understanding, and Cyborg inquired about the locations of the gates. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 revealed that his was in an old church in Jerusalem, while Crowley's was in an old castle in the Arctic. Izuku sighed, feeling the weight of the situation. Just then, 𝗧𝗵𝗲 interrupted, saying there was something they would love. He instructed Crowley to bring it out, and with a snap of his fingers, a magical circle appeared on the wall, revealing a stunning 𝗕𝗏𝗍𝗍. Everyone marveled at its beauty, and 𝗧𝗵𝗲 cheerfully asked what they thought. Izuku examined the bike, envisioning its capabilities, and a grin spread across his face. He turned to the angel and fallen angel, asking if this was his payment. Crowley replied that it was only half of it. Izuku shrugged, and 𝗧𝗵𝗲 presented him with 2 plane tickets, explaining that they were already taken care of. Izuku took the tickets and asked why there were 2. Crowley suggested it was for their new friend's companion. Izuku looked at them with a deadpan expression but ultimately shrugged it off. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 and Crowley bid farewell to the team and 𝗬𝗧𝗏, vanishing as if by magic. Izuku headed to his room, followed by the team, who were curious about his plans. Upon entering, he began packing. Robin asked how long he would be gone, and Izuku replied that it would be a couple of weeks or months. Cyborg asked if he needed their help, but Izuku assured them he did not, revealing that he would be taking someone with him. Excitedly, Beast Boy and Terra clamored to be chosen, with Beast Boy expressing his longing to travel the world. Terra agreed but pointed out that Izuku was headed to a place she really wanted to visit. Their friendly argument continued until Cyborg interrupted, reminding them that Izuku had already chosen. When they asked who it was, Raven revealed that she was the one going, holding up a plane ticket. Beast Boy and Terra exchanged glances, realizing they had been outmaneuvered, and Raven walked out of Izuku's room with a smirk. The next day at the airport, Robin, Cyborg, 𝗬𝗧𝗏, and Star wished Izuku and Raven good luck. Izuku inquired about Beast Boy and Terra, and Robin explained they were on patrol in the city. Izuku found it odd for them to be patrolling but shrugged it off. He and Raven shared a final kiss with 𝗬𝗧𝗏 on the cheek before boarding the plane. Once on board, they settled in and relaxed, drifting off into peaceful sleep. When they arrived in Jerusalem, Izuku expressed his reluctance about being there, and Raven shared his sentiment. They noticed a bustling crowd, some of whom possessed quirks. Raven asked where they should start, and Izuku suggested taking her somewhere first. Curiosity piqued, Raven tilted her head as they hailed a taxi, unaware that 2 individuals were following them. At the Jerusalem graveyard house, Izuku paid the taxi driver and they stepped out, gazing at the old building. Raven questioned why they were there, and Izuku explained that they needed to acquire a weapon for her defense against angels. When Raven asked why not a regular weapon shop, Izuku approached the door and revealed that ordinary weapons would be ineffective. He then activated a magic circle on the door and stepped inside. Raven was surprised to find Izuku had vanished, but she heard him call her from the other side and followed him in. Upon entering, Raven was astonished by the new environment, which resembled a bar. Izuku stood near the bar with a bald man, and he introduced Raven to Rodan, a former angel and skilled weapon maker. Rodan greeted her warmly, and they exchanged pleasantries. Rodan inquired if Raven was Izuku's soulmate, to which Izuku admitted he hadn't shared that information with her yet. Raven was curious about this revelation, but Izuku promised to explain later and asked Rodan for the best weapon for her. Rodan acknowledged the high price, and Izuku confirmed it was worth it. Rodan then disappeared into a portal, leaving Raven bewildered. As the room shook, Raven slipped, but Izuku caught her, holding her tightly. Rodan returned, slightly disheveled, and assured them everything was fine, presenting 4 guns on the table. Izuku complimented Rodan on his craftsmanship and revealed a halo ring he had brought as payment. Rodan expressed gratitude for the purchase, and they enjoyed a moment of camaraderie over drinks. Afterward, they left the bar together. Later that night in their hotel room, the staff inquired if Izuku needed anything else, and he left a tip before they closed the door. He stretched and searched for Raven, finding her gazing out at the city. He approached her from behind, wrapping his arms around her and resting his head on her shoulder. Raven asked about Rodan's earlier comments, and Izuku hesitated before revealing a name that surprised her, Bayonetta. Raven was taken aback, realizing Bayonetta was the legendary wish. Izuku explained that she had been his mentor, and Raven wanted to know how this related to the concept of soulmates. Izuku opened his hand, revealing a necklace that once belonged to Bayonetta, and Raven gasped in shock. She asked what had happened to her, and Izuku recounted a past rebellion where he lost control, leading to Bayonetta sacrificing herself to save him. He explained that her power now resided within him, and it could only activate with the girl he loved. Raven blushed at the implication that she could activate this power, and Izuku confirmed that doing so would make her the next Bayonetta. She was incredulous, and Izuku urged her to consider the responsibility it entailed. Before he could finish, Raven pulled him close and kissed him, expressing her gratitude for his honesty. She acknowledged her own problems but promised to address them before tackling his. Meanwhile, in a distant forest, a beast stirred from its slumber, sensing something familiar. The next night, Izuku and Raven rode a hell bike toward an ancient temple outside the city. Suddenly, Izuku halted, detecting the presence of a demon. Raven teased him about his keen sense, but Izuku was serious. As he braced himself, a massive fist descended from the sky, striking their bike and sending them tumbling. Izuku quickly checked on Raven, and they both recovered from the impact. He identified the threat as a demon, and as they looked up, a shadow loomed overhead. Izuku activated his wings and swiftly lifted Raven into the air just as the demon's fist crashed down, creating a blinding light. Once safely on the ground, Izuku prepared for battle, equipping himself with King Cerberus. He warned Raven that this demon bore a grudge against him. The demon, Beowulf, emerged from the shadows, vowing revenge for the loss of his eye. Raven was shocked to learn that Izuku had been involved in this conflict. Izuku taunted Beowulf, challenging him to face him again. Beowulf, undeterred, hurled a tree at them. Raven used her magic to stop it, while Izuku leaped onto the tree, launching himself toward Beowulf. The demon attempted to strike him, but Izuku skillfully dodged and countered with an ice staff, causing Beowulf to roar in pain. The battle intensified as Izuku created a shield with his wings to absorb Beowulf's retaliatory blow. Izuku crashed into a tree and got up, shaking his head. Beowulf roared, and 4 wings appeared behind his back, sending a light spear toward Izuku. However, a dark tree emerged to protect him, halting the attack. Beowulf looked at the source of the interruption and saw a large rock hurtling toward him, forcing him to fall back. He held his head and looked up to see Raven, who was unleashing a barrage of tree spears upon him. Beowulf flipped back to dodge and retaliated with a light feather aimed at Raven. She countered with a rock, moving it aside just in time to see Beowulf's fist appear before her. Suddenly, a fire staff materialized beside them, striking Beowulf's arm and redirecting him toward the ground. Raven backed away and landed near Izuku. Izuku checked on Raven, asking if she was okay. She replied that she was fine but that it had been a close call. Beowulf roared and charged at them on all 4s. Izuku and Raven took their stances, but a large rock appeared between them, stopping Beowulf in his tracks. Then, a T-Rex headbutted Beowulf from the side, sending him crashing into a tree. Izuku and Raven exclaimed in surprise, recognizing their allies, BB and 𝗧𝗏. 𝗧𝗏 waved and greeted them, while Izuku questioned why they were there. Before he could finish, Beowulf roared again, launching a light feather at them. 𝗧𝗏 shielded them with a rock and promised to explain later, creating a rock spear. Raven hoped for an explanation as she enhanced the rock and fired it at Beowulf. He leaped into the sky to dodge, but Izuku appeared with Gilgamesh and punched him back to the ground. A cloud of dust erupted, and Beowulf growled as he got back up, only to see an ice spear descending rapidly toward him. Beowulf attempted to move but was pinned down by Raven's magic, 𝗧𝗏's rock grip, and BB's whale form. He roared in frustration, feeling the ice spear close in and strike his other eye. Beowulf yelled in pain, sending the titans flying backward with great force. 𝗧𝗏 and BB collided with a tree, while Raven was caught by Izuku, who appeared behind her. Beowulf, now enraged, declared that he would hunt down the one whose heart pumped the blood of Ænarius, vowing to rid the earth of their foul scent. With 4 wings flaring behind him, he fled into the forest. Raven questioned what that meant and who 𝗓𝗓𝗡 was, looking to Izuku for answers. He remained silent, lost in thought about why Beowulf knew that name, until Raven touched his cheek, snapping him back to reality. She asked if he was okay, expressing her concern. Izuku held her hand, assuring her he was fine, just lost in thought. Raven nodded but remained unconvinced. They both heard a tree snap and turned to see 𝗓𝗏 and 𝗵𝗃 trying to escape. Izuku and Raven sighed but called them out to stop. Time passed, and a chibi version of Izuku scolded 𝗓𝗏 and 𝗵𝗃. 𝗓𝗏 explained how they had snuck onto the plane and followed them but got lost when Izuku and Raven entered the Grade of Hell. 𝗵𝗃 and 𝗓𝗏 had searched for them until they heard the commotion and came to help. 𝗵𝗃 concluded their story, and Izuku and Raven sighed deeply. Raven asked what they should do, and Izuku replied that they should just keep moving forward. 𝗵𝗃 and 𝗓𝗏 cheered, but Izuku warned them that he would give them a punishment when they returned to Titan, causing their cheers to fade into fear. Izuku smirked and walked away, with Raven following after him, playfully wishing them luck. On a cliff, a man with wavy brown hair and gray eyes, wearing an unbuttoned black jacket and a long blue scarf, sat on a rock, observing the Titans with a telescope. He pondered their fighting style and speculated that one of them must be Izuku's soulmate. He was interrupted by a voice asking if he had found him. The man, Luca, confirmed he had and playfully requested to be called Dad or Daddy by the girl who had jumped down from the tree, Viola. She rolled her eyes in response, and Luca sighed in defeat, returning his attention to the Titans as they moved toward an old church. Viola sat beside Luca, looking through her own telescope, and asked if they were heading toward the old church. Luca agreed, noting that it seemed Izuku had found his soulmate. Viola reacted in surprise, prompting Luca to caution her not to yell. She insisted on knowing who Izuku's soulmate was, and Luca pointed out the girl with violet hair. Viola observed Raven smiling at Izuku, which made her grit her teeth in frustration. Luca sighed, aware of his daughter's feelings. Back with the Titans, Izuku and his team arrived at the old church, contemplating its eerie atmosphere in silence. 𝗵𝗃 gulped, commenting on how unsettling it was, while 𝗓𝗏 echoed his sentiment. Raven, however, found it normal, and Izuku agreed. The other two exchanged skeptical looks, prompting Izuku to remind them to aim for the gem, a phrase he had repeated several times. 𝗵𝗃 pointed out that they faced bad guys every day, questioning how this situation was different. Izuku explained that their enemies did not drain the life from humans. As he opened the church door, their eyes widened in shock at the sight before them. Humans in chairs, drained of life by a mysterious force, some already reduced to skeletons. 𝗓𝗏 stammered, questioning if they were dead, but Izuku confirmed they were, noting that their target was still present. He created a symbol before them, and a magical symbol passed through the Titans. Raven, 𝗓𝗏, and 𝗵𝗃 finally saw what their enemy looked like, and they all exclaimed in unison that it was enormous. A monstrous figure turned to face them, disturbed by their presence. Izuku grinned, acknowledging the creature as 𝗵𝗏𝗃𝗀, and prepared for battle. Inside the old church, Izuku, Raven, 𝗓𝗏, and 𝗵𝗃 confronted the angel known as 𝗵𝗏𝗃𝗀. The creature roared, unleashing two fireballs at the Titans. They dodged and hid behind a pillar while Izuku retaliated with a shot aimed at 𝗵𝗏𝗃𝗀's head. The creature growled and began chanting ancient words, summoning an army of angelic monsters from a magic circle above its head. Izuku realized the gravity of the situation, exclaiming that 𝗵𝗏𝗃𝗀 could summon allies. 𝗵𝗃 was bewildered, asking what those creatures were, and Izuku explained that they were called affinities, akin to an army unit under a general's command. 𝗓𝗏 rolled her eyes, and Raven inquired about their plan. Izuku instructed them to handle the affinities while he focused on the larger foe. Although Raven hesitated, Izuku cupped her face and urged her to trust him, assuring her he had faced more than one of their kind before. Raven sighed, knowing he was right but still worried. Izuku smiled and nodded, okay. A massive fire surged past them as Titan took a defensive stance, ready for action. Izuku shouted for Titan to go, and he launched himself into the air with Lucifer's equipment, hurling two swords at 𝗵𝗏𝗃𝗀's face. 𝗵𝗏𝗃𝗀 let out a roar of pain, and 2 dragons lunged at Izuku, attempting to bite him. He skillfully dodged their attacks and drove a sword into one dragon's head. The dragons growled and retreated, and Izuku pursued them. Meanwhile, Raven, 𝗵𝗃, and 𝗧𝗏 were engaged in their own battle against the affinity. 𝗵𝗃 struggled to hit their target, exclaiming in frustration as he fired his gun but consistently missed. Affinity charged at 𝗵𝗃, who closed his eyes in fear, but just then, 𝗧𝗏 shot Affinity in the head, causing it to stagger. 𝗧𝗏 smirked and continued firing, hitting Affinity repeatedly. Raven found herself surrounded by Affinity but spun her gun, infusing her bullets with magic for a direct hit to Affinity's head. One of Affinity's attacks grazed Raven, but she quickly adjusted her aim and fired again, declaring she had it in her sights. 𝗵𝗃 watched the 2 girls easily handle their opponent while he struggled, muttering to himself about needing Midoriya to teach him how to shoot properly. Back with Izuku, he dodged another dragon's attack and threw a sword into its neck. The dragon roared in pain, and the other launched a fireball at him. Izuku shielded himself with his wings, but when he opened them, he was struck by the dragon's tail and sent crashing into a wall. Groaning in pain, he noticed 2 fireballs approaching and swiftly ascended into the sky. Gaining speed, he dove down and hurled 10 Lucifer swords at the dragon's neck, causing 𝗫𝗏𝗪𝗏 to roar in agony. 𝗫𝗏𝗪𝗏 glared at Izuku, claiming his weapons were weak and that he had no means to fight back. Izuku smirked and snapped his fingers, pointing a finger gun at 𝗫𝗏𝗪𝗏. Confusion crossed 𝗫𝗏𝗪𝗏's face as the Lucifer swords embedded in his body detonated like mines. He roared in pain, and 2 of his dragon heads detached and fell to the ground. Izuku laughed, relishing the moment, but 𝗫𝗏𝗪𝗏 retaliated with a massive fire breath. Izuku covered himself with his wings, but 𝗫𝗏𝗪𝗏 charged at him, attempting to bite down. With a mouth full of teeth, 𝗫𝗏𝗪𝗏 threatened to crush him. Izuku retorted about the foulness of his breath, struggling to reach his weapons. Just as 𝗫𝗏𝗪𝗏 was about to swallow him, a gunshot struck 𝗫𝗏𝗪𝗏's eye, causing him to roar in pain. Izuku took the opportunity to fly backward and threw 6 Lucifer swords at 𝗫𝗏𝗪𝗏's face, causing another explosion. Raven called out to Izuku, who quickly descended to join her, 𝗧𝗏, and 𝗵𝗃. He asked if they had managed to defeat all the affinity. They confirmed they had but glanced at 𝗵𝗃, who was pouting and looking away. 𝗵𝗃 urged them not to say anything further. Izuku nodded, sensing something was off, when Titan noticed 𝗫𝗏𝗪𝗏 rising into the sky. Izuku shouted for everyone to take to the air, grabbing Raven and soaring upward, while 𝗧𝗏 lifted herself with rocks alongside 𝗵𝗃. 𝗫𝗏𝗪𝗏 roared, and the entire church began to rise into the sky, propelled by lava from below. Titan spotted a rock heading their way, but everything froze as if time had stopped. Raven, 𝗧𝗏, and 𝗵𝗃 looked confused while Izuku focused on someone standing on the rock. He scoffed, recognizing Luca and Viola as they arrived. Viola shouted for him to be quiet, while Luca greeted Izuku with a wave. Raven inquired about their identities, but Izuku was interrupted when 𝗫𝗏𝗪𝗏 attempted to strike them with his tail. 𝗵𝗃 transformed into a T-Rex and bit down on 𝗫𝗏𝗪𝗏's tail, causing the beast to roar and shake him off. 𝗵𝗃 insisted they stop talking and focus on defeating 𝗫𝗏𝗪𝗏. 𝗧𝗏, Raven, and Izuku agreed, and Luca tossed a katana sword to Izuku, who caught it and expressed his gratitude. He then instructed the team to clear a path for him to deliver a decisive blow. They all shouted their agreement, and Izuku declared it was time to act. As they charged toward 𝗫𝗏𝗪𝗏, who unleashed a torrent of fire, Raven, 𝗧𝗏, and 𝗵𝗃 skillfully dodged the flames. Raven fired her gun, enhanced by her magic, hitting 𝗫𝗏𝗪𝗏's forehead crystal directly. 𝗫𝗏𝗪𝗏 roared in anger and tried to strike Raven with his tail, but 𝗵𝗃, still in T-Rex form, bit down on it. Again. 𝗫𝗏𝗪𝗏, now furious, unleashed another wave of fire, but 𝗧𝗏 countered by launching sharp rocks into his mouth. 𝗫𝗏𝗪𝗏, annoyed, slammed his body against the church, causing it to shake and throwing the team off balance. Just as he prepared to bite down on them, a gunshot rang out, striking 𝗫𝗏𝗪𝗏's crystal head and cracking it. Titan looked to see Luca with a sniper rifle in hand. 𝗫𝗏𝗪𝗏, now visibly enraged, attempted to flee, but Raven shouted for 𝗧𝗏 to target his wings. 𝗧𝗏 complied, and both fired at 𝗕𝗏𝗪𝗏's wings. Raven infused her bullets with black magic, transforming them into larger projectiles that struck 𝗕𝗏𝗪𝗏's wings, causing him to begin falling. Izuku appeared in the air, wielding a massive magic sword, declaring it was his moment. He slashed down the middle of 𝗕𝗏𝗪𝗏, who roared and exploded in a brilliant light. Viola released her time-stopping power, and everything returned to normal as the church began to descend. Raven, 𝗧𝗏, and 𝗵𝗃 landed on a cliffside next to Viola and Luca. Luca praised Izuku for his performance, while 𝗵𝗃 looked down at the team and noticed a large door amidst the lava. Luca explained that it was the Angel Gate, the source of the beasts they had been fighting. 𝗧𝗏 and 𝗵𝗃 looked at Luca in confusion, and Viola clarified that it was where the monsters originated. They inquired how to close or destroy it, and Luca replied that it would be up to Izuku, who seemed ready to rampage. They looked up to see Izuku grinning widely, with Robin glowing around his wrist. Izuku extended his hands, and Robin transformed into two guns. He flew in circles, firing at the Angel Gate with light and dark energy. Ascending high into the sky, he prepared for a powerful descent, spinning as he approached the gate. When he reached it, he switched his guns to spear mode and plunged the spear into the Angel Gate, splitting it in half. The Angel Stone Gate flew into the air, and Izuku spun his spear, creating a tornado that sucked the Angel Stone Gate into it. Izuku stopped spinning and transformed again into cannon mode. He pointed the cannon at the sky and pulled the trigger. The Angel Stone Gate was struck and exploded into dust. On the cliff, 𝗧𝗏 and 𝗵𝗃's jaws dropped while the others sighed. After Izuku destroyed the gate, he introduced Viola and Luca to the team and returned the introductions. Now they were on the highway. 𝗧𝗏 expressed surprise at Izuku's connections, noting that he didn't know he was with the best hunter group. Izuku explained that he only learned about them after traveling with Bayonetta. Luca chimed in, teasing Izuku about how often Bayonetta had bested him in their encounters, prompting a growl from Izuku as he requested Luca not to bring it up. Changing the subject, Izuku handed 𝗧𝗏 and 𝗵𝗃 2 plane tickets, informing them they would be heading back to Jump City while he and Raven embarked on another mission. 𝗧𝗏 and 𝗵𝗃 reacted with surprise, and Izuku insisted they couldn't join him because their destination was cold and they hadn't brought jackets. 𝗧𝗏 and 𝗵𝗃 pouted, crossing their arms in disappointment. Izuku rolled his eyes and turned to Luca, asking if he could give them a ride to the airport. Luca agreed but requested that Izuku stop calling him uncle. Izuku smirked, playfully refusing. He then noticed Raven still arguing with Viola because he had announced that Raven would be the next Bayonetta, which didn't sit well with Viola. Sighing, Izuku approached Raven and lifted her in a bridal style, causing her to yelp in surprise. He addressed Viola, stating that she could glare all she wanted, as he had already made up his mind. He bowed slightly and said goodbye, while Raven stuck her tongue out at Viola, making her mad. After saying farewell to 𝗧𝗏, 𝗵𝗃, Luca, and Viola, Izuku and Raven returned to their hotel to rest for the night before catching a plane to their next destination the following morning. On the airplane, Izuku and Raven sat together, with Raven snuggling close to Izuku, who covered them both with his wings. He complimented her outfit, but Raven, in her usual monotone, asked him to stop saying things to get her excited. Izuku chuckled, unable to help himself, and gave her a gentle kiss on the cheek. Raven pouted, reminding him that they could have more fun when they returned to the hotel, so he should hold off until then. Izuku agreed, and Raven asked if he had any friends at their next destination. Surprised, Izuku wondered how she knew, and Raven explained that she guessed it after meeting Viola and Luca. Izuku nervously laughed, admitting he wasn't sure if they would meet his friends but mentioned he had made some while in London. Raven raised an eyebrow, curious about his trip to London. Izuku explained that he had gone there after an incident with Bayonetta to seek advice on how to deal with Yamato and rebellion. When Raven asked if he met anyone, Izuku nodded but expressed regret about it. He revealed that the former owner of Yamato, Virgil, had a son named Nero, and the previous owner of Rebellion, Dante, had two companions named Trish and Lady. Raven questioned why they posed a problem, and Izuku explained that while they were fine with him using their swords, he had previously been part of a demon hunter group called 𝗕𝗲𝗵𝗏. Raven recognized the name as a mercenary group that took on various jobs. Izuku confirmed this and shared that he left because he wanted to be a hero. Raven smiled, leaning on his shoulder and expressing hope that they wouldn't encounter them on this mission. Izuku agreed, recalling a gift from Kairi and pulling out a device from a void. He asked Raven if she wanted to listen to the song Kairi had given him. Raven growled, questioning if the song was any good, but Izuku assured her it was the best and the reason he loved music. Raven shrugged, allowing him to play the song through Bluetooth earphones. Surprisingly, she began to enjoy Kairi's music and voice. They listened in silence until they arrived at their destination. In front of the ice castle, Izuku and Raven marveled at its presence. Raven admitted she hadn't known such a castle existed. Izuku chuckled, teasing that if she stayed with him longer, she wouldn't know which was the real one anymore. Their conversation shifted as they noticed a demon hunter group battling a demon. Raven asked if they were friends of his, but Izuku clarified that they were just another group of demon hunters seeking money. Raven suggested they help, but Izuku decided against it, proposing they focus on their main target while the others fought. Raven nodded in agreement, and they flew into the castle. In the main garden, they looked down from a tower and saw two glowing red figures. Raven inquired if they were demons, and Izuku speculated that they might be but sensed more than one presence nearby. Suddenly, a shadow passed over them, landing behind them with two guns aimed at them. A familiar voice remarked on their aim, and Izuku recognized his aunt, Trish. She smirked, teasing him about still being a brat. Izuku protested, insisting he was a man, but Trish playfully suggested they find out in a different context. Izuku blushed and looked away, sensing Raven's glare directed at Trish. He quickly clarified that when Trish mentioned in bed, she meant in battle, as she liked to test their strength. Raven looked confused, and Izuku reassured her that he understood how she felt. Trish interrupted, reminding them that if they didn't confront the demons now, the ones they wanted to avoid would arrive soon. Izuku muttered under his breath, and Trish asked how they should proceed. He looked at Raven, who was still confused. In the garden, Izuku landed in front of the two glowing girls, smirking as he prepared for the challenge ahead. Izuku and 𝗵𝗃 clashed fiercely, their weapons colliding with a powerful explosion. Switching his gun mode to spear mode, Izuku hurled a spear at 𝗵𝗃, who had formed an ice shield. The spear deflected off the shield, embedding itself in the ground. Frustrated, Izuku watched as 𝗵𝗃 took a deep breath, disappearing into an ice storm. In the air, only two glowing girls and Izuku remained. Summoning an Osiris, he flew toward the girls, slashing at them. They danced around him, attempting to touch him, but Izuku spun the Osiris around himself, creating a barrier that kept them at bay. Suddenly, Izuku felt his feet become trapped in ice. One of the glowing girls giggled, having frozen his legs in place. As he struggled to break free, the two girls clung tightly to him, and 𝗵𝗃 leaped from his hiding spot, mouth wide open, ready to attack. Izuku braced himself, but a dark raven appeared between him and 𝗵𝗃, causing 𝗵𝗃 to jump back. The raven whisked Izuku away, reappearing a short distance from 𝗵𝗃. Grateful, Izuku acknowledged the raven but was cut off by her furious expression. She insisted they discuss things later. Just then, 𝗵𝗃 fired an ice spear at them, but the raven countered it with her magic, turning around to fire back at 𝗵𝗃. 𝗵𝗃 inhaled deeply again, but Izuku interrupted by slicing through one of the glowing girls with the Osiris, causing 𝗵𝗃 to stumble back, struggling to regain his footing. Izuku landed beside the raven, suggesting they team up. The raven smirked, ready for the challenge. He tossed a gun to her, and they both aimed at 𝗵𝗃, declaring their intent to finish the fight. As they pulled the triggers, black and white magic surged from the guns, striking 𝗵𝗃, who shouted ominously about more of his kind before being frozen in place. Moments later, he exploded into fragments. Curious about 𝗵𝗃's words, Izuku extended his hand toward a white orb that emerged from a gate. The orb flew into his hands, transforming into a large yellow light that eventually revealed a suitcase. The raven inquired if it contained more weapons, and Izuku confirmed it. He then asked her to wait with Trish for a moment. Before the raven could respond, another 𝗲𝗄 appeared in front of her, attempting to attack, but was halted by a lightning strike from the sky. Trish warned the raven to be aware of her surroundings. As Izuku checked on the raven, Trish called out to him, suggesting he use his new weapons to deal with the threat. Reluctantly, Izuku agreed, kissing the raven on the cheek and assuring her he would return quickly. The raven watched him with a mix of confusion and concern as he moved away, standing tall. As Izuku turned back to the raven with a big smile, she suddenly yelled for him to look out. A missile and bullets were heading his way. He dodged the missile just in time and shielded himself from the bullets with Pandora. The missile exploded in the air, and Izuku glanced up at the tower with an unimpressed expression, commenting on the situation. From the tower, Lady and Nero observed him with similar boredom. Izuku sighed, questioning whether they would continue their current strategy when Lady launched another missile. This time, Izuku used the missile to propel himself and the raven into the sky, carrying her in a bridal style. As the missile neared its explosion, he used his wings to leap off, glancing back at the distant castle with a smirk before flying away with the raven in his arms. Back inside the castle, Trish landed behind Lady and Nero, questioning their decision to let Izuku escape. Lady confirmed her choice, and Trish inquired about the other hunters. Nero explained they were still occupied with lesser foes, and if they were asked about the encounter, they would say they fought Izuku and he managed to slip away. He then stood and walked away, while Trish scoffed at their apparent softness. In the airplane, Izuku apologized to the raven for his earlier actions, and after a long journey, she forgave him, requesting to be taken to one of the best hotels. Upon landing, Izuku booked a room at a luxurious hotel. Once they arrived at the hotel, the raven used her magic to trap Izuku, pinning him down on the bed. She climbed on top of him with a mischievous smirk, causing him to feel nervous. As she began to undress him, he blushed and tried to reason with her, but she held his arms firmly in place, asserting her 𝗵𝗄 in the moment. He was giving exactly what was desired, leaving little room for thought. There was a palpable tension as he held onto her tightly, their bodies entwined in a heated moment. After a brief pause, they both fell back onto the bed, breathing heavily. Raven, still catching her breath, wondered how he managed to last so long. Izuku replied that he aimed to provide the best experience possible. They remained close, with her back against his chest, and she reached around to play with his hair, enjoying the intimacy of the moment. He wrapped his hand around her waist and gently kissed the back of her neck repeatedly. Raven expressed her enjoyment after catching her breath, and Izuku asked if she wanted to go again. With a smirk, Raven replied that she would, but this time he would be in control, giving him a playful kiss on the cheek. Izuku smiled, feeling relieved that she forgave him. Raven added that he needed to give her a wonderful night, and with that, Izuku promised to make it special. The next morning, they returned to Jump City, with Izuku carrying Raven on his back due to the events of the previous night. Inside a factory, a guard was taken down by a robot controlled by 𝗧𝗨, while another robot carried a machine, and a third protected it. Outside the factory, a wall exploded as a robot advanced. One of the robots was struck by spinning projectiles, causing its head to explode. The remaining robots turned to face the Titans. Robin retrieved his projectiles and declared that the Titans had a message for 𝗧𝗨. Terra, floating in the sky with a rock, shouted for the robots to eat dirt, as she threw a rock that crushed some of them. Robin rallied the Titans and they charged at the robots. Terra moved a rock in front of Robin, who jumped onto it and rode toward the enemy, skillfully dodging laser fire. As he got closer, he leaped off the rock and delivered a powerful kick to a robot's face. Starfire soared through the air, firing her energy blasts at the robots. Raven flew forward with a large rock behind her, calling out to Terra to catch it. Terra caught the rock and hurled it down at a group of robots, thanking Raven for the assist. Raven responded with a light-hearted comment about the rock's weight just as a laser shot at her. She used her magic to stop it, but the force pushed her back, where she was caught by Angel. As the robots surrounded Terra, Beast Boy appeared in his ape form, roaring and defending her with powerful punches and slaps. Once the threat was neutralized, he transformed back into his human form, and 𝗬𝗏 lifted him in a bridal carry, expressing her gratitude for his help. Beast Boy blushed, acknowledging that it was a cool moment. Their moment was interrupted when 𝗬𝗏 reminded him that he could put her down now. Beast Boy, still flustered, complied but was caught off guard by Angel, who scolded them for their lack of focus. They both saluted and rushed toward the enemy. Angel flew into the fray, swiftly dispatching robots with his blade, leaving them headless as he sheathed his weapon. The scene froze, displaying data and names for each Titan as they fought valiantly. Robin flipped back and struck a robot with his staff, while Raven unleashed a dark spear of magic, and Cyborg delivered a powerful punch, each moment captured in the same way. In Slade's hideout, he observed the Titans fighting data, pleased with their performance. He noted that their hard work would soon pay off, planning to strike at sunrise the following day. Back at Titan's Tower, Cyborg announced that the last slice of pizza went to 𝗬𝗏, who received congratulations from her teammates for her contributions. She humbly brushed off their praise, saying she was just doing her job. Beast Boy, blushing, expressed how much it meant to them to have her as a friend. As the team began to wind down for the night, Robin suggested they all get some rest, knowing they needed to prepare for Slade's plans. Raven waited for Izuku, who gently picked up the sleeping Eri from the sofa and carried her in his arms. They all exchanged goodnights, with Beast Boy wishing 𝗬𝗏 a pleasant evening. In her room, 𝗬𝗏 sat in front of her laptop, sighing as she typed a message and sent it to someone. A knock on her door startled her, and she quickly closed her laptop. Opening the door, she found Beast Boy standing there, looking nervous. They exchanged greetings, but the silence grew awkward until 𝗬𝗏 attempted to close the door, prompting Beast Boy to snap out of his daze and present her with a strange gift he had made. 𝗬𝗏 was surprised by the heart-shaped mirror box, and as she opened it, she was taken aback by its beauty. Beast Boy, blushing, seized the moment to ask her on a date, but 𝗬𝗏 hesitated, apologizing that she couldn't go out the next night. Beast Boy felt a pang of disappointment, and as she retreated into her room, he called out, hoping for another chance. In his own room, Beast Boy berated himself in front of the mirror for messing up the moment. He practiced different ways to ask 𝗬𝗏 out, trying to find the perfect approach. Each attempt was more exaggerated than the last, showcasing his determination to win her over. Just then he noticed 𝗬𝗏 floating on a rock outside his window, and he jumped in surprise. When she asked if he wanted to go out, he eagerly agreed, finally feeling hopeful about their connection. That's cool, 𝗬𝗏 thought as she walked to the window. She then asked why he hadn't just knocked on her door. 𝗬𝗏 extended her hand to Beast Boy, who replied that he trusted her more than anyone he had ever met. They took each other's hands and flew away from the Titan's Tower. In the kitchen, a light turned on as Cyborg entered, rubbing his large stomach. He lamented that he shouldn't have given up the last slice of pizza. With a big yawn, he opened the refrigerator and considered a foot-long ham and beef jerky sandwich when he suddenly noticed Slade's robots surrounding him. Meanwhile, back at the Titan's Tower, an explosion rocked the building as a robot fired a laser gun at Robin, who was hiding behind a broken wall. He called out for Beast Boy, demanding an answer. Just then, a shot nearly hit him, prompting Robin to dash out from his hiding spot and leap toward a Slade robot, destroying it with his 𝗲𝗏𝗧𝗏. He glanced back to see more Slade robots jumping down from a hole and firing at him. He ran to where his friends were hiding, and Starfire and Cyborg provided cover fire as Robin jumped in and hid behind a door. Robin expressed concern that Beast Boy was not responding, and as he looked back at the others, Raven emerged from her magical void. She noted that 𝗬𝗏 was not in her room. Izuku then jumped down with Eri in his arms, the little girl covering her ears. Cyborg questioned how 200 armed robots had bypassed his security system, but when he attempted to access the computer, he was shocked by an electric surge. Starfire noted that there were too many robots to fight. Before Robin could respond, a bright light shot past him, Cyborg and Starfire, hitting all the Slade robots on that floor and destroying parts of the tower. They turned to see Izuku in Twin Dragon Cannon mode, ready for action. He instructed them to go all out, and they nodded in agreement. The Titans began to dismantle the Slade robots in the tower. Later that night, in Izuku's room, he tucked Eri into bed with a smile. He heard a knock on the door and turned to see Raven enter with Robin behind her. Raven asked how 𝐸𝐻𝐻 was doing, and Izuku replied that she was a little freaked out but would be fine. He stood up and looked at Robin, who indicated that this was about the future they had seen. Izuku nodded and explained the vision he and Raven had experienced. Robin understood and wished good night to both Raven and Izuku, who settled down to sleep with 𝐸𝐻𝐻 on either side. 2 days later, at Slade's hideout, Slade emerged from the shadows and addressed someone standing in front of him. He remarked that there were doubts in the past and mistakes made, looking at 𝗧𝗏. He then asked if all that was behind her. 𝗧𝗏 confirmed that it was. Slade continued, asking if she belonged to him now, to which she replied affirmatively. He stood behind her and asked if she would serve him and him alone from that day forward. 𝗧𝗏 agreed, and Slade asked if she would obey his every command, to which she again affirmed. He then showed her the symbol of the Slade clan, and she took it, placing it on her chest, promising to fight at his side forever. On the road, the Titans were driving through the city in the T-car, heading towards a portal. Inside the car were Robin, Beast Boy, Cyborg, Starfire, and Raven, while Izuku was in the southern part of the city. Beast Boy attempted to lighten the mood with a joke about ducks, but no one responded. He continued, saying it was funny because they quacked jokes, which earned him some eye rolls. Raven, feeling nauseous, requested that they pull over. Starfire tried to understand the humor, but Robin pointed out that it simply wasn't funny. Beast Boy insisted he was hilarious and wouldn't give up until he made Raven smile. He posed another question about why the 𝗲𝗲 crossed the road, to which Raven quipped that it was to beat up the idiot telling jokes about it. The T-car stopped at a red light, and Robin, Cyborg, and Izuku laughed at Raven's response. Suddenly, a rock struck the T-car, causing it to roll over. Starfire blasted the door open, and the Titans growled as they emerged, shocked to see 𝗧𝗏 standing there. She greeted them, using her powers to lift tiny rocks and fire them at the Titans, who dodged in different directions as she destroyed the T-car into pieces. 𝗧𝗏 lifted herself into the air using the road and flew toward the Titans. Robin shouted for the Titans to engage her. 𝗧𝗏 created a crack in the ground, striking Robin in the face. Starfire was also hit by a rock that appeared in front of her. Cyborg fired his cannon at 𝗧𝗏, but she dodged, causing the rock to split in half. She then used one half to throw at Cyborg and Beast Boy. Cyborg was hit while Beast Boy transformed into an eagle, flying toward 𝗧𝗏 and transforming back into a human, trying to reason with her. He pleaded for her to stop, reminding her that they were friends, but 𝗧𝗏 responded that she had no friends. She kicked Beast Boy, causing him to fall, but Starfire caught. 𝗧𝗏 moved past them and landed near Robin, preparing to crush him with a rock. Raven used her magic to float the rock away from 𝗧𝗏, warning her not to make her hurt her. 𝗧𝗏 laughed, overpowering Raven's magic and throwing a rock at her, knocking her out. Robin attempted to strike 𝗧𝗏, but she dodged, and Cyborg tried to punch her from behind, only for her to evade again. Robin kicked her, but she grabbed his leg, kicking Cyborg in the belly and throwing Robin away. He landed perfectly, but 𝗧𝗏 created an earth wall between them. With a smirk, 𝗧𝗏 placed a bomb on the earth wall, causing it to explode and hit her. Robin called for Cyborg to act, but Cyborg hesitated, pointing his cannon at 𝗧𝗏. 𝗧𝗏 smirked and stabbed her hand into the ground, sending a crack of energy that lifted Robin and Cyborg into the air, landing them on a rooftop. 𝗧𝗏 noticed Raven getting back up and smirked, lifting a large rock above her. She aimed to drop it on Raven, but an angel appeared and cut the rock in half with a swift motion. 𝗧𝗏 acknowledged the angel's arrival, throwing a tiny rock at him, which he countered with his feathered wings. Dust swirled between them as 𝗧𝗏 looked around, unaware that Starfire was firing a beam at her from behind, striking the rock wall she had created. Star-F flew to 𝗧𝗏, concerned for her friend. 𝗧𝗏 opened her eyes and remarked that Star-F had always been easy to deceive. With a sudden burst of energy, she unleashed a wave of dirt and sand from the ground, sending Star-F tumbling away. As 𝗧𝗏 stood up and dusted herself off, Star-F also regained her footing, and the team gathered, ready to fight once more. 𝗧𝗏 focused her power, and 2 earth monsters emerged from the ground in front of her, surprising both her and Titan. Raven noted that it was a new trick, while 𝗧𝗏 marveled at her hands, wondering how she had done it, but was interrupted by 𝗧𝗏's voice through her Bluetooth earpiece. He claimed responsibility for her newfound abilities, explaining that her suit was a neuro interface that connected their powers. He raised his hands, and 𝗧𝗏's hands mirrored the motion, showcasing their bond as MSTR and apprentice. With a swift movement, 𝗧𝗏 followed 𝗧𝗏's lead, unleashing her power towards Titan, while the earth monsters dove down and appeared behind him. 𝗬𝐵 prepared to shoot, but the monsters struck him, sending him crashing against the wall. Raven, 𝗬𝗏, 𝗵𝗃, and Angel were about to spring into action when Mud shot out, hitting Raven, 𝗬𝗏, and Izuku. 𝗵𝗃 transformed into a rhino and charged at the earth monster, but the creature evaded him, forcing 𝗵𝗃 to revert to his human form. As Robin dodged a rock monster's attack, he flipped back and landed on it, but the monster created another hand behind its back to push him down. Just as Robin was pinned, 𝗬𝗶 blasted the monster's hand, freeing him. 𝗬𝗶 then tackled the monster, but it turned to sand, causing 𝗬𝗶 to fall as the ground shook beneath him, and two hands emerged to hold him down. Robin got back up and saw 𝗬𝗏 destroy a floating rock that had been fired at her, while the monsters attempted to trap her, but she easily countered their efforts. Raven appeared beside 𝗬𝗏, using her magic to stop the floating rock. Robin noticed 𝗵𝗃 being lifted by a monster and thrown toward the wall. Just before 𝗵𝗃 could crash into it, a magical light enveloped him, softening the impact. Robin then saw Angel, whose wings were muddy, battling another monster with magic. He called for Titan to fall back, throwing 5 discs toward 𝗧𝗏, which exploded in front of her. 𝗧𝗏 shielded her eyes from the smoke and coughed, struggling to see. All the monsters and floating rocks ceased their attacks, and the team looked to Robin, who reiterated the command to retreat. As the smoke cleared, 𝗧𝗏 rose into the sky, searching for Titan, but only 𝗵𝗃 remained visible before he dashed back into the smoke. When the smoke dissipated, Titan was gone. At the TTT base, Titan was in the entryway, with 𝗬𝗶 removing a rock piece lodged in him while the others leaned against the wall or sat in chairs. 𝗬𝗶 growled, regretting not blasting the monster when he had the chance. Raven expressed her frustration, wishing she had used all her power against 𝗧𝗏. 𝗬𝗏 questioned why she had allowed herself to be deceived again, while Robin wondered why they couldn't defeat 𝗧𝗏 like any other criminal. 𝗵𝗃 argued that 𝗧𝗏 was not just another criminal, she had been a Titan and a friend. Raven countered that 𝗧𝗏 had never truly been their friend, revealing her past as a spy trained by 𝗧𝗏 to destroy them. 𝗵𝗃 insisted that despite her mistakes, she wasn't evil and they couldn't give up on her. Raven looked surprised, and Robin reminded 𝗵𝗃 that 𝗧𝗏 was working for 𝗧𝗏. 𝗵𝗃 pointed out that when he and Izuku had been forced to work for 𝗧𝗏, they hadn't given up on them. Izuku clarified that they had been compelled to serve him. 𝗵𝗃 called for a vote on whether to give up on 𝗧𝗏, with Raven and Robin voting to abandon her, while 𝗬𝗶, 𝗵𝗃, and 𝗬𝗏 voted to save her. As the alarm rang, the scene shifted to 3 Triangle Prison, where 𝗧𝗏 arrived with floating rocks and used her power to lift the 3 prisoners trapped in each triangle, Plasmus, Overload, and Cinderblock. She tossed a 𝗧𝗏 badge to them, asserting her control. Back at 𝗧𝗏's hideout, he praised 𝗧𝗏, stating that the neuro remote was now his, and the 3 criminals were under his command. Meanwhile, 𝗧𝗏 and the monsters gazed at the city with grins, unaware of 𝗧𝗏's true intentions. At the Teen Titans headquarters, Robin alerted the team that 3 criminals had escaped, attacking 3 separate targets. They needed to split up to stop 𝗧𝗏. 𝗬𝗶 rode 𝗵𝗃's horse toward the woods outside the city, while 𝗬𝗏 and Robin headed to the mine site to confront Cinderblock. Raven and Izuku prepared to deal with Overload at the power plant, while 𝗵𝗃 and 𝗬𝗶 planned to handle Plasmus. Inside the power plant, 2 police officers guarded the entrance when a surge of electricity sparked on the control panel. Overload appeared, absorbing the electric energy and intimidating the guards. As they fired at him without effect, he prepared to take more power when he noticed a room turning black. Raven emerged behind Overload, challenging him to handle the blackout. He retaliated with an electric beam, but she countered it with her magic, sending it back at him and causing him to stumble. Overload then dodged her magic and dove into the ground, slithering toward her with determination. Overload was about to strike when an angel emerged from the Raven's black hole, wielding a void ice sword that sliced through Overload's electric hands. Overload recoiled, quickly detaching his frozen hands. The angel remarked that it seemed Overload was aware of his weakness. Raven then declared it was time for round 2, powering up her magic as the angel took a stance, ready for the next confrontation. Overload let out a fierce roar and charged at them, while the angel and Raven advanced toward him. Meanwhile, 𝗵𝗃 and 𝗧𝗵 were inside a lab, searching for 𝗵𝘃𝗧. They passed 2 green tubes, unaware that 𝗵𝘃𝗧 was lurking inside one of them. 𝗵𝘃𝗧 stealthily approached 𝗵𝗃 and 𝗧𝗵, launching a surprise attack by spitting acid at them. They dodged just in time, but 𝗧𝗵 was startled and soon found himself dodging more acid. He quickly ran to a spot behind 𝗵𝗃, who transformed into a pterodactyl and lifted 𝗧𝗵 into the sky. 𝗵𝘃𝗧 retaliated by spitting at them, but 𝗵𝗃 skillfully dodged while 𝗧𝗵 fired a blast that struck 𝗵𝘃𝗧, creating a hole in his chest. 𝗵𝗃 moved closer, and 𝗧𝗵 was thrown into a hole of 𝗵𝘃𝗧, rolling down inside. 𝗧𝗵 glanced back, realizing 𝗵𝗃 was trapped inside one of 𝗵𝘃𝗧's green orbs. 𝗵𝗃 struggled to escape, but it was slippery. He transformed into a T-Rex, breaking free. 𝗧𝗵 caught 𝗵𝗃 midair as he reverted back to human form, both of them looking up to see 𝗵𝘃𝗧 roaring at them. In another scene, Robin was facing off against 𝗓𝗏𝗏, who hurled a truck at him. Robin dodged and retaliated by swinging a grappling hook at 𝗓𝗏𝗏, landing a solid kick to his face. 𝗓𝗏𝗏 staggered back, shaking his head in confusion. Enraged, he charged at Robin, who was standing on a car. Robin executed a flip, and Starfire appeared, delivering a powerful punch that sent 𝗓𝗏𝗏 flying onto a crane truck. As 𝗓𝗏𝗏 recovered, he grabbed a steel pipe and swung it at Starfire, who raised her Starbolt shield just in time. However, 𝗓𝗏𝗏 managed to grab her, pulling her closer. Starfire kicked out, but 𝗓𝗏𝗏 blocked it, smirking at her. Unbeknownst to him, a disc flew in front of him and exploded, leaving him dazed. Robin took the opportunity to kick him in the face, but 𝗓𝗏𝗏 got back up, still disoriented. Starfire noted that he was incredibly resilient, while Robin questioned why Slade had sent such a creature when there was nothing to capture or steal. 𝗓𝗏𝗏 charged at them once more. Back with the Angel and Raven, Overload was cornered against the wall. The Angel plunged the void ice sword into the ground, causing ice to surge toward Overload, who backed away. Raven used her magic to pull water pipes from the wall, spraying them on Overload, causing him to shrink until he was nothing but a chip. As Raven and the Angel approached, they were suddenly splashed with mud water, and 𝗃𝗏 appeared, taunting them about being cowards. The Angel responded with a chuckle, questioning 𝗃𝗏's own cowardice. 𝗃𝗏, angered, fired mud water at the Angel, who was shielded by Raven's magic. The Angel then ensnared 𝗃𝗏 with a magical chain, who struggled to break free. The Angel urged 𝗃𝗏 to give up, asserting that she couldn't win against them. 𝗃𝗏 grinned defiantly, claiming the Angel was mistaken. Suddenly, 𝗃𝗏 pushed Raven away with her magic and tackled the Angel into another room where Beowulf awaited. Raven called out in alarm as 𝗃𝗏 blocked her path, declaring that her fight was with her. In the ensuing battle, Beowulf threw the Angel against a wall, causing him to fall to the ground. The Angel groaned in pain, only to see Beowulf stepping on him. As the Angel coughed up BLD, Beowulf taunted him about being weak. In a surge of anger, the Angel unleashed a powerful blast of dark and light magic, sending Beowulf crashing against the wall, knocking him out. The Angel, breathing heavily from the exertion, realized he had overexerted himself and struggled to rise. Just then, he heard Beowulf growling as he began to stir. Frustrated, the Angel closed his eyes and retreated into his mind. Inside, he found himself in a dark space, landing before 3 empty chairs that soon filled with Bayonetta, Dante, and Virgil. Dante greeted him with a playful jab, while Virgil remained focused on his book. As the brothers bickered, Bayonetta reassured Izuku that it was fine to deal with their antics. She then warned him that he was in serious trouble and asked if he was ready to accept his other half. Izuku, determined, acknowledged that if he didn't, someone would be in danger. Bayonetta reminded him that he was in control of his power, not the other half. Back in the real world, Beowulf was sniffing around when he suddenly paused, sensing something. Before he could react, Yamato emerged from the void and swiftly cut Beowulf in half. Dante, slightly annoyed, remarked that he wished he had waited for him. Virgil noted that if he had, Dante would have made a dramatic entrance first. As they prepared to part ways, Dante and Virgil exchanged a brotherly fist bump before their souls were absorbed into their respective weapons, which then turned toward Izuku, pointing at him before stabbing into his chest. Blood seeped from Izuku's body as the swords began to draw into his chest, leaving nothing behind. The room fell into silence until Izuku's eyes shot open, and he screamed as everything around him glowed brightly. In another scene, Terra tackled Raven into the muddy water. As Terra emerged, she pulled Raven by her hair, but Raven retaliated with magic, tackling Terra and attempting to submerge her. The mud around Raven's hands formed a bubble, pushing her back. Raven halted herself with magic and saw Terra transforming the muddy water into rock, launching it at her. Raven countered with a metal plate, sending it back at Terra. Terra shielded herself with a wall of mud, then transformed the rock fragments into a giant fist, hurling it at Raven. Raven sliced the giant fist in half with her magic. Next, Raven used her powers to uproot an electric tower, sending it toward Terra. Terra dodged by making a rock float beneath her feet, moving away just in time. The electric power exploded, and Raven shielded her eyes. When she looked down, Terra was nowhere to be seen. Suddenly, a giant hammer appeared behind Raven, smashing down onto her. On the ground, Terra emerged from the water, looking at Raven. She expressed her disdain for both Raven and Izuku, claiming that Raven had never wanted to know her and always regarded her as a liar. Raven, frustrated, threw mud water at Terra, who effortlessly redirected it and sent 3 jets of water toward Raven. Raven attempted to block the jets with her magic, but they maneuvered around her defenses, hitting her instead. Slade's voice crackled through an earpiece, encouraging Terra to exploit Raven's weaknesses. Terra floated in front of Raven, teasing her about her temper. Raven insisted that her emotions were under control, but Terra mocked her, suggesting that anger was pointless. As Raven charged at her, mud hands emerged from beneath, pulling her back down. Terra taunted Raven, questioning what hurt her the most, being tricked, nearly wiping out the team, or the fact that everyone liked Terra better. Raven bit her lip, urging Terra to stop. Terra whispered a chilling threat about Eri, prompting Raven to glare at her with fierce determination. She fired a dark rock at Terra, who dodged gracefully. Raven's frustration mounted as she felt betrayed by someone she had trusted. Terra continued to evade her attacks until she found herself cornered against a wall. In a moment of desperation, Terra used her powers to summon mud hands that pushed Raven down, dragging her further into the depths. Slade's voice urged Terra to finish Raven off. Just as Raven seemed on the brink of defeat, all the mud hands suddenly released their grip. Raven looked up to see Terra suspended in the air, being choked by a figure with 6 devil wings and 2 horns, a green gem glimmering on his chest. Raven recognized the figure as a Nephilim, recalling a moment when she had revealed her true demon form to Izuku. She remembered how he had accepted her, even kissing her in that form, assuring her that she was appealing. The memory filled her with strength as she realized the connection they shared. The Nephilim, now revealed as Izuku, lifted Terra and asked if she was afraid. Before he could continue, a mud monster appeared, tackling him. They both fell, but Izuku quickly regained control, throwing the mud monster down and transforming it into water. Noticing that Terra was once again trying to drown Raven, Izuku rushed to her side, grabbing her hand and pulling her up from the mud. Terra, furious, declared that she would make them both pay, summoning more mud hands to trap Izuku and drag him down with Raven. As Terra regained her balance, she saw Robin's shadow looming before her, throwing 3 metal balls. She created a rock shield to block the explosions but was caught off guard by a white energy blast that struck her from the side. On the ground, Slade's voice urged Terra to rise, reminding her that her suit's neural interface could assist her in combat. Weak but determined, 𝗧𝗏 stood her ground, ready to fight back against the shadows that threatened her. With newfound resolve, she prepared to confront her adversaries, her eyes glowing with determination as she summoned the strength of the earth around her. 𝗧𝗏 was airborne, preparing to escape, when a shadowy wolf suddenly appeared beside her, knocking her down. As she landed on the ground, she looked up to see the wolf shadow approaching with a low growl. She called out to Best Boy, but he remained silent, continuing to growl at her. Another shadowy figure, 𝗬𝐵, materialized beside her, stating that there was nothing left to say. Starfire appeared behind 𝗧𝗏, accompanied by Raven, Angel, and Robin, expressing their disappointment. Raven pointed out that 𝗧𝗏's actions had been an attempt to annihilate them, while Robin declared that it was over for her. Surrounded by the Titans, 𝗧𝗏 lifted herself into the sky and flew away, disappearing into the mist. Once she was gone, the Titans emerged from the shadows. Starfire noted that 𝗧𝗏 seemed quite scared, but Raven retorted that fear was not the same as remorse. Robin insisted that 𝗧𝗏 was a dangerous criminal who needed to be stopped, and 𝗵𝗃 vowed to ensure that it would happen. Meanwhile, 𝗧𝗏 continued to flee from the Titans until she paused around a corner near an alleyway, breathing heavily. She heard 𝗧𝗍𝗪's voice, which dripped with venom, questioning where she thought she was going. 𝗧𝗏, feeling cornered, began to respond but was abruptly interrupted by 𝗧𝗍𝗪, who declared that he would not tolerate failure and would not allow her to escape. He insisted that she would stay, fight, and win. Ignoring his words, 𝗧𝗏 peeked out from her hiding spot, only to be struck by 𝗬𝗏. Rubbing her cheek, she retaliated by throwing 2 large rocks at 𝗬𝗏 and Raven. 𝗬𝗏 punched one rock while Raven used her magic to deflect the other back at 𝗧𝗏. She flipped backward, using a piece of rock to float into the air, dodging 𝗬𝗏's blasts. Just as she was about to flee again, Starfire descended from above, forcing her to jump off her floating rock as Starfire destroyed it. 𝗧𝗏 landed on the ground and lifted herself with another floating rock, attempting to escape once more. However, Angel appeared in front of her, wielding Osiris. 𝗧𝗏 jumped down again as Angel shattered her floating rock. Looking ahead, she saw Robin charging toward her. She lifted a petal rock with her powers and hurled it at him, but he dodged just in time. As she prepared to create another floating rock, Starfire's Star Blast struck her, forcing her to evade left and right until she managed to stop the blasts with a large rock. The Star Blasts shattered the rock into tiny pieces, which 𝗧𝗏 then used to throw at Starfire, who effortlessly blasted them away. The explosion from the Star Blasts knocked 𝗧𝗏 off balance, causing her to kneel. Just as she was about to rise, 𝗬𝗏 appeared beside her, attempting to punch her, but she jumped back. Instead of a punch, 𝗬𝗏 transformed his hand into a cannon and fired at 𝗧𝗏, sending her sprawling backward. As 𝗧𝗏 growled and looked up, she gasped in shock as a bus came crashing down toward her. The bus exploded upon impact, and Raven, observing from above, maintained a monotone expression, knowing 𝗧𝗏 was still alive. Emerging from the rubble, 𝗧𝗏 floated away, spotting 𝗵𝗃 in his pterodactyl form in front of her. She dodged him as he pursued her, using a mud pole to try and stop him. 𝗵𝗃 evaded it twice but ultimately crashed into one of the poles. 𝗧𝗏 continued to float away, but her rock was struck by a green blast from Starfire. She began to dodge again as Starfire relentlessly chased and blasted at her. In desperation, 𝗧𝗏 called for 𝗧𝗍𝗪's help, expressing that she couldn't handle this alone. 𝗧𝗍𝗪 reassured her that she was never alone, though she felt confused by his words. As she crossed the street, something halted the Titans' pursuit. They were stopped by Plasmus, Overlord, and Cinderblock, who emerged from underground, surrounding themselves with an electric shield. The Titans took their stances, ready to fight, but the 3 monsters began to spin rapidly in the air, creating a blinding light that forced the Titans to shield their eyes. When they opened them again, they were met with Turnian, also known as Turn. 𝗬𝗶 remarked on Turn's appearance, while Angel directed 𝗵𝗃, 𝗬𝗏, and Robin to pursue 𝗧𝗏, stating that she, Raven, and Starfire would keep an eye on Turn. The 3 boys nodded and prepared to leave, only to be surrounded by 𝗧𝗍𝗪's robots. As the Titans split up to fight, 𝗧𝗍𝗪 observed the battle until 𝗧𝗏 entered his hideout, calling out to him. She announced that she had made it and was alive, expressing disbelief that they had almost defeated her. 𝗧𝗏 turned around and delivered a swift kick to 𝗧𝗏's abdomen, sending her crashing against the wall. As she looked up at him in fear, he ominously stated that what she had just experienced was nothing compared to what he had planned for her. Meanwhile, 𝗕 extended his hand toward Angel, Raven, and Starfire, who all managed to dodge the attack. Angel flew toward 𝗕's face and slammed it down, causing 𝗕 to yell in pain and retreat. Angel pursued him, determined to finish the fight, but 𝗕's tentacles emerged and ensnared him, delivering a shock. In response, Starfire cut the tentacle with her powers, while Raven lifted a car and slammed it against 𝗕. The explosion created a cloud of smoke, and Raven landed beside Angel, offering him a hand. They both watched the smoke, uncertain if 𝗕 had been defeated, only to be proven wrong when he emerged, charging toward them. 𝗕 was stopped by Starfire, who flew down and punched through him. She then turned and fired a laser beam at 𝗕 from behind. 𝗕 yelled in pain and retaliated, but his punch was blocked by a protective shield created by Angel. Enraged, 𝗕 engaged in battle with Starfire, Angel, and Raven. Meanwhile, Robin fought his way through 𝗧𝗏's robots, taking them down one by one. He threw a bomb in front of him, causing a massive explosion that scattered the robots. As they began to shoot at him, he skillfully dodged their attacks. 𝗬𝗵𝗲 delivered powerful punches and kicks to the robots, firing blasts at groups of them, but was suddenly struck from behind. 𝗬𝗵𝗲 knelt down and looked behind him, seeing an army of robots advancing while pointing their guns. He braced for the firepower from the robots, but they were all destroyed by 𝗵𝗶, who came crashing down on them in his whale form. 𝗬𝗵𝗲 blinked at the sight until he saw 𝗵𝗶 emerge from the smoke in human form. 𝗵𝗶 asked where 𝗧𝗏 was, expressing his disregard for the robot army and the giant threat, focusing solely on finding her. Just then, a robot jumped beside him, prompting 𝗵𝗶 to transform into a gorilla and deliver a powerful punch, sending the robot flying. 𝗵𝗶 let out a fierce roar in anger, leaving 𝗬𝗵𝗲 in shock as 𝗵𝗶, in gorilla form, ran off in the opposite direction. Meanwhile, 𝗧𝗏 was thrown against the wall by 𝗧𝗏, who approached her with a stern expression. He chastised her for failing to eliminate the Titans, commanding her to fight instead of running away. 𝗧𝗏, struggling to her feet, protested against his treatment, but 𝗧𝗏 dismissed her concerns, asserting that she had nowhere else to go after the terrible things she had done. 𝗧𝗏 declared her longing to leave, expressing her exhaustion with fighting and with him. 𝗧𝗏, however, pressed a button on his arm, asserting control over her, causing her suit to shock her into 𝗬𝗵𝗲𝗀. 𝗧𝗏 fought against it, but it was futile as 𝗧𝗏 grabbed her chin, reminding her of the promise she made to fight by his side forever. Back with the Titans, they found themselves surrounded by 𝗧𝗏's robots, ninjas, and 𝗕. They stood back to back, ready to defend themselves. Robin called out for Raven and Angel to act, throwing a round object into the air that transformed into a triangle and exploded in a burst of light. When the light faded, the Titans found themselves encased in a black and white shield created by Raven and Angel. They looked around to see that all the robots and ninjas had been defeated, except for 𝗕, who was rising from the debris. Robin, Raven, Starfire, and 𝗬𝗵𝗲 prepared to confront 𝗕, but Angel signaled them to stop, blocking their path with his wings. He then extended his hand into the air, summoning a sword that crackled with dark energy. He warned the team to shield their eyes as 𝗕 charged toward them. As 𝗕 approached, Angel unleashed a swift attack, severing 𝗕's hands and feet, causing him to collapse in front of the Titans. 𝗕 was knocked out by an electric shock from Robin, who had already set a trap for him earlier. Raven remarked that they would need a bigger jail, while Starfire noticed someone was missing. Robin checked his TTT phone for 𝗵𝗶's location, noting he was 5 kilometers east and 800 meters below the surface. Meanwhile, 𝗵𝗶, in wolf form, sniffed out 𝗧𝗏's scent until he arrived at a large door. He growled, and with a powerful charge, the door was destroyed by 𝗵𝗶's mammoth form. Once inside, he transformed back to his normal self and searched for 𝗧𝗏. Just as 𝗧𝗏 was about to finish 𝗵𝗶 off, they heard Robin's voice calling for her to stop. 𝗧𝗏, 𝗵𝗶, and 𝗧𝗏 turned to see the other Titans descending near her. 𝗧𝗏 ordered 𝗧𝗏 to strike, but Robin pleaded with her not to listen. Slade insisted on his command, and 𝗧𝗏 looked around at her friends, who were ready to intervene. She glanced at 𝗵𝗵, who urged her to remember that it was her life and that it was never too late to change. 𝗧𝗏 expressed her regret to 𝗵𝗵, raising her fist and moving her hand towards Slade. A rock struck beneath Slade, causing him to stumble. 𝗧𝗏 lifted herself into the air with floating rocks, creating a crack beneath Slade. He dodged and landed on the ground, glaring at her. Slade charged at her, but 𝗧𝗏 conjured a towering rock formation that halted him midway. She hurled pieces of rock at Slade, hitting him repeatedly until he was forced back, eventually falling off the cliff. Breathing heavily, 𝗧𝗏 ceased using her powers and floated down, approaching the edge of the cliff to ensure Slade was gone. However, Slade suddenly appeared in front of her, delivering a punch that sent her sprawling backward. He lifted her off the ground by her chest plate, but 𝗧𝗏's eyes glowed with golden power as she declared that he could no longer control her. The rock tower exploded into pieces, sending debris flying. The Titans watched in worry as the dust settled, fearing for 𝗧𝗏's safety, but they soon saw her emerge on a floating rock, breathing heavily. Their relief was short-lived as the cave began to shake ominously. Robin warned that 𝗧𝗏's powers were triggering the volcano, and 𝗬𝗵 noted the danger it posed to the entire city. Starfire urged everyone to escape, but 𝗧𝗏 and 𝗵𝗵 remained. 𝗵𝗵 called out to 𝗧𝗏, urging her to leave, but she insisted she had to stay, believing she was the only one who could stop the eruption. 𝗵𝗵's eyes widened in alarm as he pleaded with her not to do it, but 𝗧𝗏 reassured him that it was never too late. She hugged 𝗵𝗵 tightly, telling him he was the best friend she ever had. Just then, before she could turn around, Angel struck her neck, and 𝗵𝗵 caught her as she fell. Angel instructed 𝗵𝗵 to get her out of there, emphasizing the need to create a powerful magic to escape the collapsing cave. "Are you ready?" Raven nodded in response. Angel, alongside Raven, called upon the great guardian of the Earth Dragon, seeking its power and strength to save their town from an earthquake caused by a villain. They asked the dragon to shield them with its mighty form and promised to lend their magic to protect their home. A magic circle appeared before them, and from it emerged the dragon 𝗬𝗏, first revealing its claw, then its head, and finally its entire body. 𝗬𝗏 roared and struck the ground, causing glowing runes to appear everywhere, halting the flow of the volcano. With each slam of its massive hands, more runes illuminated the area, and everything turned white. The next day, on the roof of Teen Titans Tower, 𝗧𝗏, dressed in casual clothes, gazed at the city, now bustling with people. She smiled at the sight until she heard a cough behind her. Turning around, she saw Beast Boy with the Titans, Green Lantern, and John. 𝗧𝗏 asked if it was time to go, and Beast Boy nodded, looking down sadly. 𝗧𝗏 playfully punched Beast Boy's shoulder, leaving him confused. She teased him about his gloomy demeanor, reminding him that it was just therapy and 5 months grounded in space. Beast Boy hesitated, but 𝗧𝗏 hugged him tightly, reassuring him that it was okay since they had given her another chance. Beast Boy hugged her back, expressing how much he would miss her. 𝗧𝗏 echoed his sentiment, and after a moment of shared hugs, they broke apart. 𝗧𝗏 walked past the Titans who bid her farewell, and approached 2 adult heroes who would take her to space for therapy. Before entering the Javelin, she looked back at the Titans with a smile, ran toward Beast Boy, and gave him a quick kiss on the lips. The Titans and 𝗬𝗏 reacted with surprise, and 𝗧𝗏 blushed as she muttered a goodbye to Beast Boy before running back to the Javelin, which then started its engines and ascended into space. The team and 𝗬𝗏 exchanged knowing glances at Beast Boy, who was left blushing. In a flashback from long ago, 2 bald eagles soared above the city, transitioning to a scene where a casino exploded due to the actions of 2 villains. Citizens screamed in panic and began to flee. The red villain laughed triumphantly, boasting about the money they had just stolen. The blue villain alerted his partner as they were confronted by the police, soon followed by 2 pro-heroes. Electoplant demanded that the villains stand down while launching a lightning bolt at them. Cow Lady transformed and charged into battle, declaring that the villains were finished. The red villain challenged the heroes, firing missiles at them and the police. As the villains leaped into the air, a young hero in a leather jacket and cape intervened, delivering a powerful punch to the blue villain, sending him flying. The family inside a nearby minivan looked up at their savior, who reassured them with a smile, declaring that everything was fine because he was there. The red villain questioned his identity, and All Might introduced himself as a hero from Japan passing through. The red villain threatened him, but All Might skillfully redirected the missiles, causing them to explode harmlessly in midair. As the villains attempted to flee, a red car soared into the air, driven by a young scientist named 𝗕𝗏𝗁. All Might jumped into the car, and they pursued the villains, with David joking about All Might's impulsive nature. They were soon joined by Electoplant, Cow Lady, and others, who watched All Might in awe, marveling at his heroics. David explained that All Might was an exchange student from Japan, destined to become a symbol of peace. Back in the present, Toshi sat on a private jet, sleeping in a chair next to his successor. Uraraka shook him awake, excitedly pointing out Island from the airplane window. She expressed her joy at visiting the artificial city filled with scientists. Toshi, glad to have invited her, reassured her that there was no need to hold back. Uraraka wondered if it was appropriate for her to come along, but Toshi emphasized their strong bond, referring to the connection of one for all. As the captain announced their descent to Island, Toshi prepared himself, knowing he would need to maintain his hero form upon arrival. "You asked the school if you could bring the hero costume with you, right?" Achiko confirmed enthusiastically. Meanwhile, inside a Javelin, Teen Titans, Eri, and Flash were also heading to Island. In a flashback, Robin reported to Batman about the Slade attack. Batman, speaking through a screen, expressed his doubts about Slade's disappearance. Robin assured him that they had checked everything with satellites and magic, leaving no traces behind. Batman pondered Robin's thoughts on the matter, and Robin, clenching his fist, expressed his concern that Slade might still be alive, given his knowledge of magic. He recalled Izuku mentioning that some dark magic could even bring someone back to life. Batman acknowledged the possibility but reminded Robin that such magic required significant preparation. Robin nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. Batman then instructed Robin's team to accompany Flash to Island. Robin, confused, asked if something had happened there, but Batman clarified that it was merely a vacation for the team. The revelation left Robin in shock. Back inside the Javelin, Flash excitedly asked who was ready for a vacation on Island, and the others cheered in agreement. Flash reassured them that Batman had taken care of all expenses, encouraging them to enjoy themselves. Robin sighed, sensing trouble ahead, while Raven pointed out his smile and notebook. Robin playfully noted that she had a similar notebook, and they both laughed nervously, glancing at their dating plan notes. Meanwhile, Izuku gazed out at the sky, deep in thought about his conversation with Batman. In another flashback, he asked Batman about someone searching for him, to which Batman revealed that Katsuki and another individual named Stocking were involved. Izuku was taken aback, recalling memories from his childhood with Katsuki and two girls. As the Javelin approached Island, an announcement informed them of their arrival. In a private jet, for people were playing Uno until 1, with navy hair and pink accents, looked out the window. The Titans and Flash passed through immigration inspection. Flash posed a question about the purpose of Island, and the Titans shared their insights, highlighting its role as a safe haven for talented individuals to gather and enhance their abilities. An announcement declared the completion of immigration inspection and mentioned the pre-opening of iExpo, an event showcasing various research and developments. Upon arriving at Island, the Titans and Eri marveled at the bustling atmosphere, with Flash expressing his amazement at the number of people present before the official opening. Starfire floated in the air, sharing her excitement about the island's beauty. Flash explained that unlike Japan, people were free to use their quirks on Island, and there were many attractions utilizing those powers. He encouraged everyone to explore later. Just then, a commotion erupted as All Might arrived, drawing a crowd of admirers. Flash noted All Might's popularity, while BB and CB dashed off to get an autograph, prompting Flash to chase after them. Robin sighed and decided to follow, while Raven, Izuku, and Eri remained behind, contemplating their next move. Eri suggested helping their friends, but Izuku pointed out the ice cream stand, leading them to happily pursue that instead. In the garden park, All Might wiped lipstick marks off his face while 𝗂𝗃𝗁 caught her breath. She expressed her surprise at being overwhelmed by the crowd. All Might apologized, explaining he was worried about being late for a reunion with an old friend and asked if she would accompany him. 𝗂𝗃𝗁, excited, agreed but was reminded by All Might to keep their secret about One for All safe, as danger often surrounded those who knew about it. That's true, though One for All is an important secret. 𝗂𝗃𝗁 recalled her conversation with All Might about All for One. In her memory, Toshi had explained that because she had inherited his power, she now bore a heavy burden. He had failed in the past, and as its new holder, she would one day have to confront this great evil herself. 𝗂𝗃𝗁 understood that to be prepared for that time, she needed to learn to use One for All properly as soon as possible. She looked at her hand, clenched her fist, and expressed her longing for someone to help her. All Might, laughing nervously, suggested that she could ask one of the heroes from Metropolis. 𝗂𝗃𝗁's eyes lit up as she asked if he meant Superman or Batman. All Might confirmed that while Superman could provide answers, he wasn't sure about Batman. When she inquired why, All Might shivered, recalling his old teacher, Izuku, and remarked that Batman was even more intense. Frustrated, 𝗂𝗃𝗁 snapped her fingers and wished for someone knowledgeable about quirks to appear before her. Meanwhile, Izuku, Raven, and Eri were nearby when Izuku sneezed. Raven asked if he had a cold, to which he replied that he didn't think so, rubbing his nose. Back with 𝗂𝗃𝗁 and All Might, they suddenly heard a boing sound and turned to see a blonde girl riding a pogo stick at the top of the stairs. She greeted All Might with excitement, jumping into his arms for a hug. All Might laughed heartily, expressing how good it was to see her. The girl, Melissa, exclaimed that it felt like forever since they last met and that she couldn't believe he was actually there. All Might complimented her growth, and Melissa explained that she was now 17 and had grown heavier since their last meeting. He lifted her into the air before setting her down gently. Melissa expressed her happiness at seeing him well, and 𝗂𝗃𝗁, observing their interaction, wondered about the age difference and if it was related to her quirk. Melissa giggled and mentioned that her father, Dave, was in his lab, having completed the first stage of a long-term research project. She had invited All Might to the island to celebrate. All Might recalled a phone conversation with Melissa during his training at 𝗂𝐴, and asked what Dave was researching. Melissa revealed that it was confidential even to her. Talked, 𝗂𝗃𝗁 grew suspicious about All Might having a secret child, as Shoto had once suggested. All Might introduced Melissa as his good friend's daughter, and she extended her hand to 𝗂𝗃𝗁, introducing herself. 𝗂𝗃𝗁 sighed in relief, realizing the situation was different than she had feared. After exchanging pleasantries, Melissa asked about 𝗂𝗃𝗁's quirk. 𝗂𝗃𝗁 explained that she had zero gravity, a power type. Melissa commented on the design of her suit, noting it seemed very orthodox and lacking support items. 𝗂𝗃𝗁 felt a bit embarrassed but was determined to improve. Suddenly, Melissa realized they needed to hurry and make her father happy. She activated 𝗬𝗪𝗀 on her pogo stick, transforming it into a watch, and urged All Might and 𝗂𝗃𝗁 to follow her. They shared a chuckle before running after her. Meanwhile, at the front gate of the island, a group of individuals watched the crowd from the shadows. One of them was on the phone, confirming that they had infiltrated the expo without issue and inquiring about the arrival of the goods. After receiving a response, he instructed his group to move forward. At the front of the hotel, Flash addressed the Titans and Eri, reminding them of the 3 rules while on Island. Robin stated the first rule was to never get into a fight with other heroes, while Izuku added the second was to never go alone. The group enthusiastically shouted the 3rd rule, to have as much fun as they wanted. Flash smiled and reminded them that they would all be attending the pre-opening of Expo that evening, urging them not to be late. As the Titans and Eri zipped away, Flash noticed Izuku, Raven, and Eri still lingering and asked if they were going to have fun. Raven assured him they would just finish up some last touches. Izuku inquired about Flash's plans, and Flash revealed he would be meeting one of his scientist mentors on the island. When Izuku asked who it was, Flash teased that it was someone they would know well but would introduce later. Izuku pouted, saying goodbye as he and Eri waved to Flash before departing. As Flash zipped away, he called out for David, eager to meet his old mentor. Meanwhile, CB and BB enjoyed their time at various attractions, including roller coasters and bumper cars. Afterward, they found themselves at a fast food restaurant, discussing their next destination. CB hesitated to suggest a place he liked, anticipating that BB wouldn't enjoy it. BB insisted on knowing what it was, but after a moment, he quickly changed his mind, declaring it the worst experience ever. They found themselves in a pavilion where scientists showcased their latest hero item designs, and CB excitedly called out to BB to check something out. BB turned to see CB near a fascinating aircraft-like design, intrigued by the innovations on display. BB walked to CB with a gloomy expression. CB explained that the multipurpose beagle could fly and also move underwater, showcasing a plane that soared through the sky and dove into the depths of the ocean. BB was genuinely impressed by the invention, even though he understood only half of what CB said. In another section, CB mentioned that the diving suit could be worn at depths of up to 7,000 meters. The suit resembled a tentacle-like alien as it descended into the water. BB leaned closer to the tank, his face pressed against the glass, exclaiming how deep it looked. Moving on, CB introduced a pair of goggles equipped with 36 different sensors. He placed a helmet on BB, who was then bombarded with images of Island. BB's startled face appeared on the main screen, and CB remarked that even though the designs were based on David's patents, they were still amazing. BB, distracted by two girls with blonde and brown hair, introduced himself with a smirk, saying he was Beast Boy, a hero from Jump City. The blonde girl gasped in surprise, realizing they were Teen Titans. CB, noticing BB's flirtation, called out to him, warning him not to pursue girls when he already had someone. BB, flustered, denied any such intentions, while the brown-haired girl giggled and BB blushed. CB introduced himself as Cyborg, but the blonde girl interrupted, recognizing him as the head engineer of the Teen Titans and the best builder in Titan Tower. CB was taken aback by her knowledge. The blonde girl explained that she had been watching a series called Snow Angel on YouTube, laughing nervously with a blush. BB, confused, asked where he had heard that name, only to be lightly slapped on the head by CB, who whispered that it was Eri. BB recalled the name and laughed nervously. The brown-haired girl introduced herself as Melissa Shield, and her friend, Achiko Uraraka, chimed in, mentioning she was a first-year student in the hero course at 𝐸 High School. CB nervously shook hands with Achiko, and both he and BB began to panic upon realizing they were in the presence of 𝐸 students. In a flashback on the Javelin, CB and BB were shocked to learn that Izuku and Eri were born in Japan. Robin raised an eyebrow, questioning how they had just noticed this. CB crossed his arms, explaining that not all of them were free all the time. BB asked if the others had known, looking at Raven and Starfire. Raven confirmed that they had, as Robin had shared the information when he first arrived. Starfire, who struggled with reading, wondered what was wrong with Izuku and Eri being born in Japan. Robin explained that there was nothing wrong, but Izuku added that the 𝗕𝗗𝗄𝐵 liked to keep their exceptionally talented kids in their own country as a form of control. Starfire gasped, horrified, while Flash nodded, emphasizing the need for caution around those individuals. He displayed an image of All Might, Katsuki, Panty, and Stocking, prompting CB to point out that All Might knew Izuku. Flash clarified that All Might had undergone a memory wipe spell, while Robin noted that Katsuki had not, for reasons unknown. BB inquired how Katsuki had avoided it, as he was Robin's childhood friend. Izuku explained that while Katsuki was one of his childhood friends, he wasn't the only one, gesturing to Panty and Stocking. Flashback ended, and Flash warned everyone to stay sharp when encountering 𝐸 students. Robin, sweating, questioned how this could be an accident, as Starfire and Katsuki argued about Robin's record of defeating a villain without powers. Ijiro tried to calm Katsuki, who shouted back at him, unleashing his quirks. Starfire gasped, horrified at Katsuki's behavior, and punched him, sending him crashing into a rock. Ijiro rushed to Katsuki's side, while Starfire froze, only to be grabbed by Robin, who urged her to run. Meanwhile, Eri emerged from the dressing room, showing off her outfit to Raven and Izuku. Raven cooed at how cute Eri looked, but Eri insisted she wanted to be called elegant, spinning around and bowing. Raven chuckled, rubbing Eri's cheek, while Eri whined about her request but didn't push Raven away. Izuku watched them with a smile, reminiscing about his childhood friends. In a flashback to when they were 4 years old at the mall, Katsuki complained about girls needing so many clothes as he and Izuku helped their friends shop. Izuku reminded Katsuki that they had agreed to help Panty and Stocking because their parents were busy. Katsuki snapped at him, and just then, Panty emerged from behind a curtain, asking for their opinions on her outfit, leaving both boys speechless. Pseudo, Panty's sister, teased Izuku, poking his cheek, while Panty grinned and prepared to doodle on. Katsuki, who quickly backed away, warning her not to. The playful chase ensued, with Izuku and Pseudo watching with amused expressions, chuckling at the antics of their friends. After Izuku welcomed his new sister Eri, he dashed toward the park where he was supposed to meet his childhood friends, only to find Pseudo sitting alone on a double swing. He walked toward her while searching for Katsuki and Panty. Izuku asked Pseudo where they were, and Pseudo paused her swing chair, looking up at him with tears in her eyes. She explained that her sister was saying goodbye to Katsuki alone, and she needed to do the same with him. Izuku's eyes widened in surprise as he knelt in front of Pseudo, asking why they were leaving and how far away they were going. Pseudo looked away, saying it was very far, and Izuku, with tears forming, asked if they would see each other again. Pseudo turned around and hugged Izuku tightly, crying on his shoulder as he began to cry too. After a moment, Pseudo asked him to promise that when they saw each other again, he would be her boyfriend. Izuku blushed and stuttered, confirming that he understood what she meant. Pseudo giggled and showed him her pinky finger, insisting he promise. Blushing, Izuku linked his pinky with hers and made the promise. As Izuku sighed deeply, he looked at his little finger and felt unworthy of Pseudo. He hoped she would find happiness like his. He then walked toward Raven and Eri, who had just finished their conversation. At the cafe, Pseudo sighed as she looked at her little finger, wondering where her green bunny was. Melissa asked Stocking about their internship with heroes, and Pseudo explained that it involved normal work like catching villains. Melissa found it cool, looking at Pseudo with stars in her eyes. Pseudo smirked and pointed out CB and BB, who were surrounded by Ida, Mineta, and Denki, saying they did hero work every day. Melissa shyly admitted they had already spoken to them, and Pseudo grinned at them. Momo expressed her jealousy toward heroes in New York or Jump City, noting they didn't have to attend school or have a license to do hero work. Jiro agreed, and Melissa asked why. Momo explained that they could use their powers without limits, and Achiko added that it was frustrating. The girls sighed in agreement. Melissa reminded them that those heroes had their own rules, explaining that they had to train heavily under the Justice League or their own teachers. Pseudo chimed in, mentioning their training with Aizawa, and the other girls nodded. Melissa continued, saying they had to pay for any property damage with their own money. The girls reacted with surprise, and Jiro asked how they managed to pay for damages. Melissa explained that some, like Cyborg, worked in car repair and electronics. Pseudo asked if he had his own car, and Melissa confirmed he did. Momo then asked how Melissa knew all this, and she replied that she watched a YouTube channel about it. Jiro clarified that it was a channel about the Teen Titans' lives, featuring a little girl named Angel who showed around their base. Melissa described Angel, mentioning her long white hair, red eyes, little horns, and 4 angel wings. She then showed them the channel on her phone, and the girls admired how adorable Angel looked. Meanwhile, Pseudo thought about the description of Angel, wondering if it could be who she was thinking of as she glanced at CB and BB, who were saying goodbye to Ida, Denki, and Mineta. In the hangar room, the villains had subdued a guard, and the boss picked up the phone, stating that they had secured the goods as planned. He expressed confidence that they could handle All Might without issue. He watched his men unload a crate and asked a henchman about the transport preparations, which were already complete. The boss dismissed concerns about the Justice League's involvement. In the scientist room, Toshi was in a scanner tube being checked by his friend David. David was shocked by the readings and questioned 𝗕𝗓 about the sudden drop in his quirk numbers. 𝗕𝗓, trying to maintain his composure, reflected on the toll of being a hero for so long and worried about revealing the secret of one for all. David expressed his fear that the symbol of peace might be lost in Japan, but 𝗕𝗓 reassured him that there were many capable heroes around the world and that he could still be all might for a few hours each day. David, however, was still worried about the possibility of another villain like 𝗕𝗏 appearing. 𝗕𝗓 encouraged him not to be pessimistic, reminding him that heroes would be ready if that ever happened. Meanwhile, 𝗓𝗏 used her quirk on Melissa, lifting her into the air. Melissa floated in 3D space with a happy expression. 𝗕𝗓 declared that the will of one for all and the symbol of peace in Japan would connect to the next generation and all other heroes around the world. 𝗓𝗏 waved at Melissa, her face beaming with joy. David and 𝗕𝗓 emerged from the scientist's room when Flash suddenly appeared in front of them, startling them. David sighed deeply, expressing his frustration at Flash's antics, while Flash playfully commented on David looking older. David, with an eye twitch, questioned who Flash was calling old. 𝗕𝗓 feigned ignorance, prompting David to introduce Flash as a former student who had gone to Metropolis, noting that he had also been working with the Justice League. Flash proudly boasted about his popularity among the League, earning a blank stare from 𝗕𝗓 and a shake of the head from David, who was nonetheless pleased to see one of his old students. In the security room, a villain restrained the security guards and reported to his boss over the phone that everything was going according to plan. The boss instructed him to keep the guards bound without harming them. The villain settled in front of a computer, confirming that their guest was proving to be quite helpful. In the hangar, the boss and other villains stood before a gate that began to open. The boss, donning a mask connected to a pipe, remarked that everything was proceeding smoothly. A light illuminated the room, revealing several villains in military attire behind him. In the central tower lobby, the doors swung open as 𝗓𝗏 rushed in, dressed in a pink dress, black stockings, a pearl necklace, and a flower in her hair. She apologized for her tardiness but paused when she noticed that the other girls were absent. Ida, wearing a blue suit with a yellow tie, huffed in frustration, lamenting the lack of punctuality among the group. Todoroki stood nearby in a white suit with a red tie, while Kaminari and Mineta, dressed as waiters, were unprepared for such a formal gathering. CB, in a black suit with a white tie, reassured Ida that everyone would arrive in due time. BB, wearing a dark green suit with a soft green tie, spun around excitedly, joined by Mineta and Denki, who struck a pose, all expressing their eagerness to see the girls in appealing dresses. 𝗓𝗏 laughed nervously and stepped back from their enthusiastic attention. Robin, leaning against the wall in a dark suit with a black bow tie, sighed at the scene. Izuku, who had changed his appearance to white hair and blue eyes, noted that Robin seemed to be looking forward to the event despite his complaints. Robin pointed out the two roses behind him, prompting Izuku to mention that they represented a chance for forgiveness. A flashback revealed Izuku, Raven, and Eri enjoying a family-like moment at a cafe, where Eri was engrossed in an arcade game. Their conversation turned serious when Raven inquired about Izuku's childhood friend, leading to an awkward moment for him. Raven, having heard details from others, urged him to stop explaining. Izuku expressed regret about leaving his past behind, but Raven encouraged him to consider the consequences of keeping Eri away from him. Their discussion was lightened by Raven's teasing about a potential three-way relationship, leaving Izuku in shock. Back in the present, Izuku reflected on his girlfriend's playful nature and hoped Eri wouldn't follow suit. His thoughts were interrupted when Momo entered, apologizing for being late as Jiro followed her, feeling shy in her new outfit. Momo wore a stunning red dress, while Jiro, in a dark pink skirt and black jacket, felt out of place in such formal attire. BB, Mineta, and Kaminari cheered as more girls arrived. Star F approached Robin, twirling to show off her dress, which left him momentarily speechless before he complimented her. Melissa called out to the group, reminding them that they were running late for the party, followed by Raven and Pseudo, with Melissa looking elegant in her blue dress and light lavender miniskirt. She wore a small choker, golden earrings, and pink lip gloss, showcasing her charms as the eldest among them all. 𝗵𝗃, Mineta, and Denki looked at the three girls with blushes and hearts floating around them. Mineta exclaimed joyfully to the heavens, overwhelmed with bliss. Denki, also in tears of happiness, expressed his frustration at not knowing what to do. 𝗵𝗃, lying on the ground with flowers on his chest, declared that he could die happy. Jdźrå thought to herself that the tickets had been a mistake. Meanwhile, Izuku watched his girlfriend Raven chatting with her childhood friend Pseudo, both seeming to get along well, while he wondered where Panty was. As they waited for her, Katsuki and Ijiro joined them. Inside the reception hall, dozens of guests, including sponsors, scientists, and heroes, gathered to enjoy the wide variety of food and drinks. The announcer welcomed everyone to the 𝐸𝐸𝑥po's opening night reception party, expressing hope that they would enjoy themselves. He mentioned the presence of All Might, the #1 hero of Japan, and invited him to say a few words and lead a toast. The crowd erupted in applause and cheers for All Might, who was known and respected worldwide for his legendary feats. All Might whispered to David, expressing surprise at being called to speak without a warning. David laughed, explaining that it was expected once everyone learned he was in town. With a sigh, All Might made his way to the stage. Eri pointed at him, excitedly asking if that was really All Might, to which Flash confirmed while internally worrying about where his friends were. At the entrance, Iida attempted to call for Panty, Kirishima, and Bakugo, but none of them responded. Frustrated, he noted that they were likely ignoring the party. Meanwhile, Katsuki questioned Ijiro about their direction, raising an eyebrow in skepticism. Ijiro, sounding unsure, admitted he had left his phone behind and was relying on instinct. Just then he spotted an elevator, and they approached it, hearing the doors open. Katsuki was surprised to see Panty there, and she playfully responded to him. All Might began to address the crowd, stating his pleasure at being there and admitting that formal speeches weren't his strong suit. However, before he could continue, a loud sound echoed throughout the tower, and the television behind him blared with the word, "Emergency." In a security center, figures grinned as they took over the system. One hacker announced that they were in, clearly pleased with their success. The announcement echoed throughout Island, warning of an explosive device placed in the 𝐸𝐸𝑥po area and urging residents and tourists to return to their homes or lodgings immediately. The message emphasized that anyone remaining outside could face arrest and that most main buildings would be sealed off. As the announcement spread, people hurried back to their homes, realizing this was no drill. Security bots patrolled the streets, reinforcing the seriousness of the situation. Students from Class 1A grumbled as they made their way back to their hotels, disappointed at missing out on the nightlife. Suddenly, the doors to the reception hall burst open, and armed men wearing masks entered, pointing their weapons at civilians and heroes alike. The leader, wearing a wrestling mask and a tank top, announced that they had taken over the security system. He warned that any resistance would endanger the hostages, including everyone present. As All Might turned around, his expression grew grim as he prepared to take the terrorists by surprise. However, the leader, anticipating a counterattack, commanded his men to act. Instantly, cables shot up from the floor, ensnaring the heroes and preventing them from using their powers or breaking free. All Might managed to stretch the cables with his muscles and was prepared to break free before a gunshot rang out, freezing him in place. A masked figure threatened him as he walked onto the stage, pointing a gun at the crowd, warning that if anyone moved, he would harm everyone there, including Flash. A man behind Flash aimed a gun at his head, threatening to pull the trigger if he made a move. Flash gritted his teeth while Eri hid under a table, trying to connect with her brother through magic. All Might clenched his teeth in frustration before he was kicked to the floor, unable to act without risking the lives of others. The masked figure taunted the crowd, demanding their obedience, or they would witness the consequences of defiance directed at All Might. All Might locked eyes with David, silently communicating that he could break free if necessary, but David shook his head. He conveyed through his expression that they had no choice but to comply for now. Years of friendship allowed them to understand each other without words. All Might felt unhappy with the situation, but David reassured him that he would ensure everyone's safety and find a way to resolve the crisis. Reluctantly, All Might agreed to save his strength for a later opportunity. Meanwhile, at the entrance, Todoroki ended a phone call with a frown, noting that the others were experiencing the same issue with their signals. He expressed his frustration at the lack of service, while Mineta nervously questioned what was happening. Jiro, trying to get the elevator to work, shouted that it was unresponsive. Melissa pondered the strange high alert status of the system, knowing that it was not standard protocol when explosives were discovered. There had to be more to the situation. Robin suggested they head to the party area to uncover what was happening, and everyone nodded in agreement. Suddenly, Izuku felt a sharp pain and knelt down, holding his head. Raven, concerned, asked what was wrong. Izuku whispered to her that Eri seemed to be trying to communicate with him. Raven's eyes widened as she looked at her teammates, who nodded in understanding. Robin asked Melissa to lead them to a room where they could talk privately. Melissa agreed but expressed concern for Izuku's well-being. Robin explained that Izuku was receiving a magical message from his little sister, who was at the party with their mentor, Flash. The others were confused by the mention of magic, but CB insisted they would explain later and urged Melissa to show them the way. In a secluded room, Izuku sat in a meditative position, his eyes wide open as he communicated with his sister. In his mind, surrounded by a glow. Robin, CB, Starfire, Jiro, and Hachiko went to the reception roof to observe the situation, while the others asked BB about how magic worked. BB provided answers, but Izuku remained silent about the others. Raven sat beside Izuku, worry etched on her face, when Pseudo approached her. He asked if he could speak with her for a moment. Raven sighed, anticipating the topic. Pseudo revealed that he understood what magic was and that he knew Izuku was not using his real name. In the reception hall, a masked figure assured the hostages that if they remained quiet, there would be no reason for anyone to be harmed. He patrolled the area, making vague threats. A hero demanded to know the criminal's intentions, only to be kicked in the chin and sent sprawling to the ground. The masked figure ordered him to stay down before receiving a call through his earpiece, grinning as he got his next set of instructions. His gaze landed on David's assistant, Sam, due to his name tag. The masked figure approached Sam, who nervously confirmed his position as a researcher. The figure ordered Sam to accompany him, and as two terrorists grabbed Sam, David intervened, demanding they stop. He confronted them about their intentions with Sam. The masked figure recognized David, the famous scientist, and ordered Sam to be taken as well. David bravely questioned what would happen if he refused, but the masked figure merely grinned, implying dire consequences for his daughter if he did not comply. Reluctantly, David agreed to follow them, worried for the safety of his daughter and the civilians as he was led away from the party room. All Might and Flash watched helplessly as their friend was taken. All Might let out a growl of anger, feeling his muscles tense as he struggled against his restraints. He thought about the power he had left and whether he could defeat the villains and restore the security systems. He reminded himself that he was a symbol of peace and prepared to free himself, but before he could act, a flash of light caught his attention from above. Quickly looking up in fear that a sniper was trained on him, All Might sighed in relief when he saw it was Hachiko with her phone flashlight on, flashing intermittently to attract his attention. He was shocked to see Shoujo Uraraka. Hachiko noted that All Might had noticed them and asked Jiro if her jack was in place. Jiro confirmed she was ready, having plugged into the ground and capable of hearing everything happening inside the reception hall. Hachiko nodded, gesturing to All Might to let him know they could hear him through the glass ceiling, and he nodded in return. All Might warned them that some villains had taken over the tower, gaining control over the security system and holding everyone on the island hostage, including the heroes invited to the party. He urged them to get away as soon as they could. Jiro gulped nervously, realizing the gravity of the situation, and relayed the message to Hachiko and the others, who began to sweat in fear about the confrontation ahead. CB explained that Bane was one of the underground drag lords selling strength bands that could triple quirks or lead to addiction. Mineta expressed his fear, noting how scary Bane looked, and Denki nodded in agreement. Robin added that it got worse, revealing that a villain from Gotham City had been missing lately. 𝗂𝗵𝗲 confirmed they now knew where the villains were located. Robin then turned to Class 1A and Melissa, asking if they would fight alongside them or head to a safe place. Class 1A and Melissa contemplated their options, but Angel stepped forward to address them. He acknowledged the difficulty of choosing between good and bad in this situation and posed a question about what it truly meant to be a hero. Lita insisted that they needed a license to avoid disaster, and Momo agreed. Robin pressed further, asking if they would be fine if their parents were killed right in front of them, shocking everyone. 𝗵𝗃 reflected on becoming a freak, while 𝗧𝗏 remembered feeling trapped in her home. 𝗂𝗵𝗲 considered the possibility of turning into a machine, and Raven contemplated her destiny. Angel reminded them that everyone had their reasons for wanting to become heroes and challenged Class 1A to decide whether they would remain on the sidelines due to permits or help those in need. 𝗬𝗏 declared her commitment to fight, explaining that she and her sister attended U to meet someone and become heroes alongside them. She mentioned her childhood friend would have done the same if he were there, revealing her knowledge of Angel's true identity. The Titans were surprised by her insight, except for Raven, who already knew. Angel assured 𝗬𝗏 that her friend would be proud of her. In the Central Tower's control room, a hacker continued typing with 2 bodyguards behind him when 𝗧𝗏 entered with David and his assistant Samuel. The hacker instructed 𝗧𝗏 to hurry and unlock the vault. 𝗧𝗏, feeling disdain, threatened David with a sword, urging him to comply. Confused but compliant, David nodded, and the guards took him and Samuel to the vault. Once they were gone, one of the villains laughed, remarking that David was unaware of their true intentions. Another villain, Scarecrow, warned him to be quiet to avoid blowing their cover. Deadshot, shaking his head, turned to Brainiac, who was downloading data from the computer and noted that his new body was not as good as his old one but would suffice for now. Deadshot instructed Brainiac to inform him of anything unusual in the tower. Meanwhile, the group of Titans and Class 1A continued their ascent up the stairs. 𝗕𝗏 noted they had reached the 30th floor, prompting Robin to ask Melissa how many floors the tower had. She revealed it had 200 floors, leaving everyone shocked. Mineta expressed his disbelief at the number of stairs, while 𝗵𝗃 remarked it was better than encountering villains. Robin agreed and they pressed on. As they climbed, they reached the 70th floor, only to find a metal door blocking their way. 𝗕𝗏 pointed out the shutter, and Shoto suggested breaking it down, but Melissa warned that doing so would alert the security system and the villains. Mineta then noticed another door nearby and proposed they use that instead. However, as he attempted to open it, he accidentally activated a signal that alerted the villains. The group stared in disbelief at Mineta, who was sweating and anxious about their reaction. In the control room, a beep sounded, catching the hacker's attention. Deadshot inquired about the noise, and the hacker reported that a door on the 80th floor had just opened, leaving 𝗧𝗏 confused about the implications. The hacker expressed frustration, noting that they thought every floor had been checked. Brain pointed out that they had a visitor, displaying the villains from the Titans and Class 1A on the screen as they dashed down the hall. The hacker was surprised to see kids, but Deadshot clarified that they were not just any kids, they were the Teen Titans. Meanwhile, Wolfram informed Bane about the presence of the heroes and Teen Titans. Bane considered this and asked where they were located. Wolfram reported that they were on the 80th floor. Bane ordered his henchmen to set up barriers on that floor and instructed them to fight alongside a lady, ensuring the heroes did not escape. All Might warned everyone to be careful, as the villains were crafty. Flash decided to call for backup, signaling to 𝗬𝗏, who was hiding under a table. Attempted to reach the Justice League headquarters emergency number but was interrupted when a mysterious figure grabbed her hand and pulled her away, causing the phone to drop. Back with the heroes, they were searching for another way up on the 80th floor. 𝗂𝗵𝗲 asked if there was another route, and Melissa confirmed that there should be another fire exit down the hall. Robin urged everyone to hurry. Suddenly, large metal gates began to close in the hallway, blocking their path. Iida spotted a door on the other side of the gate just as it was about to close. Todoroki and Angel quickly sprang into action. Todoroki created a massive pillar of ice, while Angel summoned a powerful ice creature to prevent the gate from closing. 𝗧𝗓 dashed through the opening and kicked the door open with his engines, inviting the others to follow. Robin complimented 𝗧𝗓 on his quick thinking. They entered a laboratory filled with plants. 𝗵𝗃 wondered what the place was, and Melissa explained that it was a plant factory where they researched how quirks influenced plants. 𝗕𝗁𝐭𝐫 suddenly stopped, pointing out an elevator that was going up. myheroacademia panicked, realizing the villains had found them. Raven sarcastically remarked on the obviousness of their situation. Robin instructed everyone to hide among the plants while keeping an eye on the elevator. Denki suggested they could use the elevator once the villains left, but Melissa informed him that it was restricted to authorized personnel and designed as a bomb shelter. Robin devised a plan, assigning roles to his team as they prepared for the villains' arrival. As the elevator doors opened, two villains stepped out, one chubby and the other tall and skinny. The chubby one remarked that they had been informed the kids were in the area, while the skinny one expressed annoyance. Just then, 𝗂𝐭𝐻𝗄 warned everyone that the villains were approaching. Before the villains could notice the heroes, they were interrupted by the arrival of Katsuki, Kirishima, and Panty, who were equally surprised to see each other. The chubby villain questioned their presence, and Ijiro quickly intervened, claiming they were lost and looking for the reception. The tension in the room escalated when the skinny villain accused them of lying and launched an attack. Just in time, Todoroki created a wall of ice to protect his teammates. As the villains were distracted, Todoroki lifted his teammates with a pillar of ice, planning to confront the villains. However, green vines suddenly wrapped around him, causing concern among his friends. Just then, 𝗧𝗏 appeared, cutting the vines and freeing Todoroki. Ivy emerged from a massive plant, questioning the situation. The villains explained that the heroes were present and that their boss wanted them captured. Ivy, feeling her plants needed nourishment, commanded a plant-eating creature to attack the heroes. The heroes dodged the assault, and 𝗧𝗏 retaliated with star bolts, which Ivy blocked with a wall of plants. Ivy noticed a light piercing through her defenses and saw Panty firing at her. Panty smirked and charged forward, keeping the pressure on Ivy. One of her shots grazed Ivy's cheek, surprising her and igniting her anger. Ivy retaliated by sending more plant-eating creatures after Panty. Meanwhile, a large metal structure fell, creating a cloud of dust as Angel wielded Yamato, ready to continue the fight. Angle and the others walked past the door and saw the hallway was blocked. Lita expressed concern about their situation, feeling it was no good. Mineta, feeling nervous, compared their predicament to being mice caught in a bag. Denki wondered if this was as far as they could go, but 𝗵𝗃 reassured them that it wasn't over yet and pointed to a door in the ceiling. Melissa recognized it as the maintenance room for the sunlight system. Lita suggested it might have an emergency ladder, and Melissa confirmed there was a manual one, but they could only access it from the inside. Robin looked at Raven and, with a nod, Raven flew up to the ceiling and past the wall. She spotted a lever, activated it, and a ladder fell down from the ceiling, allowing all the heroes to climb up. In the control room, a villain asked the hacker if they still couldn't find the kids. The hacker was about to check when Jiro's earpiece cut in, causing a distraction. The hacker clicked his tongue in frustration and continued typing. The villain then shouted that the kids were getting away. On the 80th floor, Mutant Fatty heard the shout from the control room but had no time to respond as Katsuki's explosive quirk hit him in the face. Mutant Fatty jumped into the air and slammed down where Katsuki had been, but Katsuki dodged to the side. As Mutant Fatty tried to hit him again, Katsuki countered with his own attack. Shoto skidded in with ice and sent an ice wave toward the skinny villain, who attempted to jump through it but ended up creating a hole with his quirk. Shoto realized that the villain was not opening a hole in space but hollowing it out. Katsuki was confronted by the Mutant Fatty, who was getting back up. Frustrated, Katsuki took to the air with his explosive quirk, declaring he couldn't keep playing around forever. He unleashed a powerful attack that transformed the Mutant Fatty back into a normal human. The skinny villain, shocked that one kid had defeated his partner, sent a blast of air at Bakugo, who dodged just in time, though his shirt was torn. The skinny villain noticed something in his hand, a piece of fabric and sweat, and was surprised to realize it was Bakugo's. Katsuki explained that it was sweat from his palms, which the villain likened to nitroglycerin. Shoto seized the opportunity and sent a wave of fire at the skinny villain, who couldn't dodge in time, resulting in a significant explosion. The villain grunted from the impact and felt his skin encased in ice from Shoto's quirk, trapping him. Katsuki rushed to 𝐒𝐻𝐳, who was stuck against the wall with his quirk activated. Shoto asked if he was alright, and 𝐒𝐻𝐳 admitted he couldn't move. Katsuki, exasperated, reminded him to turn off his quirk. 𝐒𝐻𝐳 complied and was freed, expressing his surprise at being trapped. Shoto, relieved that 𝐒𝐻𝐳 was uninjured, urged them to go help the girls. When the boys arrived where the girls were, they noticed numerous holes in the floor and plants on fire. 𝐒𝐻𝐳 gulped nervously and questioned Katsuki about his girlfriend's involvement. Katsuki confidently stated that she was not part of any gang and expressed his pride in her abilities. The two girls had defeated Ivy using their firepower, leaving Ivy on the ground, faint and defeated. The heroes then heard a noise approaching and saw a group of security robots coming toward them. Shoto took a fighting stance, ready to confront the threat alongside the others. In the control room, the hacker informed Bane that the kids were no ordinary students. They were from 𝗂𝐭𝐴 high school's hero course. Bane realized the kids were likely trying to restore the security system and ordered the hacker to raise all the partitions on floors 100 to 130. The hacker, confused by the order, was instructed to ensure the villains did their job. Meanwhile, on the 125th floor, Denki expressed relief at their luck, noting that the path had been clear since they passed the 100th floor. Achiko wondered if they had lost their pursuers, but Jiro was skeptical. Momo suggested they might be being led somewhere, and Lita agreed. Robin noted that they were close to reaching the top floor when they were interrupted by a familiar voice. Deadshot taunted them, and the heroes were caught off guard by a smoke bomb and flashlights thrown to the ground. Shielding their eyes, they opened them to find Robin, Raven, Stocking, and CB missing from the group. Angel and BB answered their phones to hear Robin and Raven's voices. Robin explained they were on a lower floor and urged them to keep moving, with Angel taking charge. In the dark, Robin and CB sensed danger, and Robin called out to Deadshot, demanding he show himself. The lights turned on, revealing Deadshot surrounded by numerous robots created by Brainiac. Meanwhile, Raven and Stocking wandered through a maze, searching for a way out until they caught a whiff of something unusual in the air. Raven alerted Stocking, who stopped in her tracks upon seeing a creature that looked like it had emerged from the depths of hell. Both girls prepared for a fight, ready to confront the threat before them. A creature crawled toward them, moving like a snake and letting out a roar that echoed through the air. On stage, Scarecrow watched the girls with a grin, singing a haunting tune that sent chills down their spines. He sang about fear and chaos, urging them to run. In the laboratory, Achiko observed the scene through the door window, noting the numerous robotic sentries. Ida remarked that the villains were no longer just trying to block their path. It seemed they were intent on capturing them. Jiro speculated that the villains had realized they were hero course students and titans. Momo asserted that if that were true, they had every reason to show their capabilities. She created a sheet of insulation, readying for action. Angel urged everyone to commence with Plan A, checking in with Chargebolt and Ingenium. Denki assured them he wouldn't let them down, and together with Ida, they prepared for their next move. Ida spun Kaminari around with his quirk before launching him into the air above the robots. Denki unleashed a powerful electric attack, but the robots remained unfazed, their defenses holding strong. Surprised, Achiko noted the robots' resilience as they hid beneath the sheets. Denki, undeterred, decided to increase his output, but Jiro warned him against it, realizing the potential consequences. Despite her concerns, Denki continued, and the robots retaliated, capturing him in wires. Jiro called out to Kaminari, while Mineta lamented the overwhelming strength of the robots. With no choice left, Achiko stepped forward, joined by Angel, who drew his sword. Together, they prepared to break through the robotic defenses. Achiko focused her energy, activating her quirk, and delivered a powerful punch that sent one robot flying. Angel followed suit, using his sword to slice through the air, taking down multiple robots in a spectacular display. As Denki soared through the air, 𝗳𝗏 activated his engines and rushed to save him. Angel asked 𝗔𝗀 if there were any backup robots, and she confirmed they were coming from the left. They decided to head in the opposite direction, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Momo complimented 𝗓𝗏𝗄 on her impressive gauntlet, which had been crafted by Melissa. They continued their escape, determined to overcome the obstacles in their path. In the reception hall, 𝗧𝗏𝗃 reported to Bane about the strength of the kids and the interference with the drone sensors, expressing frustration over their lost targets. On the 137th floor, 𝗔𝗀 listened intently, picking up on the sounds of security machines below. Momo inquired about any noises from above, but 𝗔𝗀 confirmed it was clear. With that, they pressed on, determined to reach their goal. As they approached the server room on the 138th floor, they were met with more robots emerging from a door. 𝗵𝗃 shouted in shock, realizing they had walked into a trap. 𝗓𝗏𝗄 rallied the group, ready to break through, but Melissa intervened, warning them not to damage the servers, as it could jeopardize the island's security system. Before they could strategize, more security robots descended upon them. Mineta expressed his frustration at the seemingly endless wave of foes. Momo took charge, kneeling down to use her quirk to stop the machines. 𝗵𝗃 instructed Angel to take Melissa and find an alternate route, while 𝗓𝗏𝗄 was chosen for her strength. Determined, 𝗓𝗏𝗄 agreed to join Angel and Melissa, while the others prepared to hold their ground. 𝗳𝗏 charged forward, using his quirk to kick robots into walls. Momo directed 𝗔𝗀 to take over the cannon, and they worked together to immobilize the robots with sticky glue. Mineta, fueled by determination, threw his pop at the robots, declaring he wouldn't let them harm his friends. 𝗵𝗃 transformed into a T-Rex, tearing through the robots with ferocity, while the others watched in awe. In the hallway, 𝗓𝗏𝗄, Melissa, and Angel heard the ongoing battle behind them. Angel urged 𝗓𝗏𝗄 to keep running, emphasizing the importance of their escape. As they pressed on, 𝗓𝗏𝗄 silently wished for everyone's safety. Back with the others, 𝗳𝗏 and the team continued to fight, but fatigue began to set in from overusing their quirks. Momo, 𝗔𝗀, and Mineta were eventually captured by a robot, leaving only 𝗳𝗏 and 𝗵𝗃 to continue the fight. In a monitor room, 𝗧𝗏𝗃 expressed frustration over the remaining kids, while a hacker searched for them. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 demanded to know the whereabouts of Brainiac, who was currently in the process of transferring his consciousness to a new body outside of Island. Inside his ship, Brainiac plotted his next move, determined to advance his plans sooner than expected. Meanwhile, Robin faced off against two spider robots, dodging their laser attacks with agility. He rolled to the side, seeking cover behind a box as the battle raged on. Deathshot emerged from the smoke and called out to Robin, inquiring about Batman's status in the so-called league they had created. Robin remained silent, tossing a smoke marble at Deathshot's feet. As Deathshot coughed from the smoke, he noticed a shadow darting past him. He fired his laser gun at the figure but missed. He remarked that Batman had taught Robin well. Suddenly, Robin leaped at him from behind, but Deathshot caught him by the clothes and executed a judo throw, sending Robin crashing to the ground, gasping for breath. Deathshot taunted him, asking for any last words to his sensei while aiming a gun at Robin's head. Robin smirked and exclaimed, "Boya?" Deathshot, confused by the response, was then ensnared by an electric net that had been deployed by CB, who announced his arrival while aiming a sonic gun at Deathshot. Robin, getting back to his feet, questioned CB about his delay. CB retorted that he had been busy dealing with 30 robots that Robin had left for him. Robin explained that this distraction allowed Deathshot to focus on him instead. CB acknowledged the point, and Robin wondered how the ladies were faring. Meanwhile, Raven and Suto were battling monsters. Suto, panting heavily, managed to slash down one of the creatures and turned to Raven, who was also out of breath. She asked how many monsters were left. Raven replied that she wasn't sure but noted something strange about the creatures. They didn't bleed. Instead, they emitted sparks of light when struck. Raven expressed concern about the nature of their enemy, and Suto agreed, continuing their fight in silence. After a moment, Suto broke the quiet, asking what Izuku had been up to in Jump City. Raven mentioned that he had been helping people, which 𝗬𝗏 found obvious. Shared a laugh as 𝗬𝗏 recalled how Izuku had been busy creating stories. 𝗬𝗏 was surprised to learn that he had taken up writing, recalling how she had encouraged him to do so back in their childhood. Raven chuckled, remembering how Izuku had gone into a deep concentration while writing, needing a nudge to snap him out of it. They both laughed at the memory, but 𝗬𝗏 then expressed regret over missing those days, wishing she could have helped him more. Raven comforted her, stating that Izuku would always find her, no matter the circumstances. 𝗬𝗏 smiled, grateful for Raven's support, and they shared a moment of camaraderie before a voice interrupted them. A figure emerged from the dust, and Raven and 𝗬𝗏 prepared for a fight. It was Scarecrow, who commented on their conversation about their boyfriends in a mocking tone. Raven recognized him as a villain from Gotham City, known for instilling fear in people with his gas. 𝗬𝗏 noted that they could defeat him as long as they avoided inhaling his fear-inducing dust. Scarecrow taunted them, claiming they had already inhaled his gas, and revealed that the room was filled with it, counting down to its effects. He threw a dust marble at them, and both girls coughed as they knelt down, struggling against the gas. Scarecrow approached them, exuding confidence, but suddenly he felt a wave of fear wash over him. As he looked up, he was met with a terrifying sight: Raven towering over him with 4 glowing eyes, and 𝗬𝗏 transformed into a skeletal figure with wings. Scarecrow screamed in terror for the first time in his life, his mouth filled with bubbles and his eyes wide with fear. In the real world, Raven lowered the magical shield they had conjured before confronting Scarecrow. 𝗬𝗏 remarked on how Scarecrow had underestimated them because of their age. Raven agreed, suggesting they should regroup with the others. 𝗬𝗏 nodded, and they set off to find their friends. Elsewhere, Angel, Izuku, and Melissa found themselves near some wind turbines. Angel pointed out that they were at a wind power generator. Melissa explained that there were more robots in the tower, likely waiting to ambush them, but if they climbed to the top, they could avoid them by using an emergency exit. Izuku hesitated, looking up at the door, but Melissa reassured her that with her quirk, they could make it easily. Just as Izuku began to respond, Angel interrupted, suggesting they save their strength and revealing his transformation, with his hair returning to normal and 12 white wings sprouting from his back. Izuku and Melissa were taken aback, and Izuku recognized Angel from 𝗬𝗏's pictures. Before she could say more, Angel urged them to focus on their escape. He extended his hands for them to take, and after a brief exchange of glances, they nodded in agreement. Angel wrapped his arms around their waists and took off into the sky, just as a door opened and an army of robots charged at them. Izuku gasped in alarm, and Melissa urged Angel to fly faster. Angel warned them that if he flew too quickly without covering them, they would be in danger, just as a robot fired a grappling hook toward his feet. A green and white shot interrupted the grappling hook. Bakugo shouted as he jumped into the middle of the robots, blasting several of them apart. A large patch of ice appeared before the remaining robots, freezing them in place. Izuku called out in shock as she noticed 𝗧𝗏, 𝗵𝗃, Todoroki, and Kirishima rushing in to help. Ijiro punched a robot in front of him and remarked that they had made it just in time. Shoto shot out another wave of ice toward the robots. 𝗧𝗏 yelled for Angel, asking where Robin and the others were, while firing an energy blast at a robot behind Bakugo. Angel responded that they were still on the 137th or 138th floor and instructed them to meet up with the others after finishing here. 𝗧𝗏 acknowledged the order and continued fighting. As they battled, 𝗵𝗃 looked up and recognized Angel, her eyes widening in surprise. Distracted by Izuku in the sky, another robot appeared behind her, ready to strike, but Bakugo quickly intervened, shouting a warning. Katsuki reminded 𝗵𝗃 to stay focused on the enemy in front of them as more robots emerged from the elevator. In the reception hall, Bane frowned as he received the latest reports. He ordered Swordkill and the others to defend the control room until he arrived and expressed frustration over his hired gunmen being defeated by the teen heroes. The hacker informed him that they were regrouping on the 138th floor. Bane, annoyed, declared that he was on his way and motioned for his partners, Wolfram and Crow, to follow him. All Might encouraged himself, reminding himself that his students would prevail, while Flash worried about Eri and hoped Crow wouldn't confront Izuku, fearing he might lose control. Meanwhile, Angel, Hachiko, and Melissa landed on a balcony and entered the tower. Angel asked Melissa where to go next, and she directed them to another floor leading to the control room. Just as they were about to move, Swordkill attacked from behind, stabbing Angel with his sword quirk. Hachiko and Melissa screamed in horror as Angel fell to the ground. Swordkill, grinning madly, declared that they would die next, but before he could jump at the girls, someone grabbed his leg, causing him to stumble. Swordkill turned to see Angel, who had managed to stand up despite the injury, dusting himself off and revealing a hole in his shirt. Angel expressed annoyance over his torn dress and urged the girls to follow him as they continued running toward the main control room. Hachiko easily defeated several villain guards along the way, but as they approached the main room, they spotted an open storage room. Melissa gasped in shock upon seeing her father. Melissa questioned why he was on the top floor, and Hachiko speculated whether the villains had brought him there to force him to do something. Before Angel could respond, Melissa insisted they had to save him, and Hachiko agreed. Angel sighed, muttering that he wasn't being paid enough for this, and followed the girls. Inside the storage room, David smiled as he unlocked something. He announced that he had unlocked Block 1147, and Sam rushed over to retrieve a suitcase, praising David for his success. David coldly stated that he had finally gotten back his research, which had been taken from him. Sam explained that their plan was going well, and David thanked him for his help as he climbed the stairs to meet him. Suddenly, David heard a voice that made his heart stop. He turned to see Hachiko and Melissa looking at them in shock and horror, while Angel prepared for a fight. David was taken aback to see Melissa, and Sam asked her what she was doing there. Melissa stepped forward, demanding to know what her father meant by saying it was just like they had planned. Tears welled in her eyes as she confronted David, asking if he was behind the incident to obtain the device. David reluctantly admitted that it was true, causing Melissa and Izumi to widen their eyes in shock. Melissa cried out in disbelief, questioning how he could do such a thing. Sam explained that the professor was only trying to reclaim what had been stolen from him, lifting the briefcase to show them a groundbreaking invention that could amplify quirks without harming the user. Hachiko asked if that was even possible, and Sam confirmed that while it was still being tested, it could magnify a person's quirk safely. He explained that their sponsor had confiscated the prototype and pressured David to abandon the project, leading to their current situation. Sam revealed that he had suggested using villains to steal back their research and equipment, and that David had only agreed on the day of the plan. Melissa, still in shock, struggled to comprehend her father's actions, insisting that he would never act like a villain. Why would you do this? This doesn't make any sense, she thought, unable to believe what she was hearing. David looked at the floor, afraid to meet her gaze, but then he looked back up. He explained that the kids didn't understand, but All Might's quirk was fading. He missed Hachiko looking away when he said that. He continued, saying the world needed All Might. Without the symbol of peace, they would fall. However, if he used the device, he would regain his strength, perhaps even stronger than before. He could keep saving people just like he always had. Hachiko was in shock and disbelief, realizing that All Might had passed one for all to her. David pleaded, asking to give the device to All Might, insisting he didn't care about the punishment he might face. Melissa, shaking with emotion, confronted him, expressing how much danger they had all faced for the island and for him. She questioned whether he understood the risks they had taken to save everyone. David was confused, insisting that the villains were fake and it was supposed to be an act. Bane, in the storage room, clarified that it was an act pretending to be fake villains. Hachiko powered up her One for All, but was interrupted when Wolfram used his quirk to manipulate a metal fence, trapping her and Angel against the wall. Melissa cried out, rushing to help them, while Angel realized Wolfram's quirk allowed him to control metal. Bane warned them not to resist and ordered Sam to hand over the briefcase. Sam complied, revealing that David had tricked him. He expressed his frustration about feeling undervalued after years of being an assistant. Bane then informed Sam that he was about to receive the payment he had been promised. He shot Sam in the arm, shocking everyone, while Angel tried to summon his weapons. Confused, Sam questioned why this was happening, but Bane dismissed his concerns, pulling the trigger again. To everyone's shock, David jumped in front of Sam to take the bullet for him, causing Melissa to gasp in horror at the sight of her father injured. David ordered her to get out of there, but Melissa ran toward him, calling out for her father. He warned her to stay back, but 𝗲𝗏𝗻 knocked her away with his weapon. Bane taunted David, saying it was too late to play the hero. He claimed that regardless of their intentions, David had committed a crime and could no longer be a respected scientist. He ordered his minions to take David to the roof, while Melissa begged for her father to be returned. Bane threatened Melissa, pointing his gun at her, but the shot was blocked by a white feather that appeared in front of her. Surprised, Bane turned to see Angel flying toward him with a sword, but 𝗲𝗏𝗻 created a wall to stop him. The wall was cut open, and Angel reached out for David, only to be pushed back by 𝗲𝗏𝗻's metal quirk. Angel hissed in pain as he jumped back, glaring at Bane, 𝗲𝗏𝗻, and another figure who had just entered the room. 𝗬𝗏𝗍, frightened, struggled in the villain's grasp. The masked figure told her to stop struggling, promising it would only get worse. Angel shouted for Overhaul to let her go, while Overhaul laughed, claiming he knew her quirk would save the world. Meanwhile, inside a javelin, Batman, Wonder Woman, John, and Hawkgirl were flying toward Island after receiving a distress call from 𝗬𝗏𝗍. They dispatched the League to respond quickly. The atmosphere was tense until John spoke to Batman telepathically, suggesting they inform Hawkgirl about a prisoner who had escaped in Japan. Batman firmly disagreed, fearing it would provoke her anger if she learned about Overhaul's escape and his connection to 𝗬𝗏𝗍. As Angel's anger boiled over, memories of losing his mother and almost losing 𝗬𝗏𝗍 flooded his mind. His wings rose, creating a powerful wind in the room. 𝗲𝗏𝗻 shielded his eyes from the gust, while Overhaul urged his team to escape. Bane shouted that moving now would only pull them into the winds. 𝗬𝗏𝗍 called out to her brother, warning him not to act recklessly. As the winds lifted Angel into the air, his skin began to change, transforming him in a way that hinted at his true power. Before his face started to change, 𝗓𝗏𝗄 yelled out loud, "Smash!" as she punched the villain in the face, sending him crashing into the wall and halting his transformation. 𝗓𝗏𝗄 looked at Melissa and nodded. Melissa nodded back and ran toward the door before the hacker noticed her. The hacker shouted for her to come back, but he was stopped by 𝗓𝗏𝗄, who landed in front of him, surrounded by pink electricity. She warned him that he would not pass. 𝗲𝗏𝗻 yelled at her not to get carried away and threw a metal brick at her, but she stopped it with her one-for-all quirk. Overhaul then hurled a spear at her, only for Angel to appear in front of 𝗓𝗏𝗄, blocking the attack with his sword, which sliced off the tip. 𝗓𝗏𝗄 was surprised to see Angel back to normal. Angel thanked her for waking him and mentioned that he was almost losing his senses. 𝗓𝗏𝗄 replied nervously, unsure why he had punched the villain, but she felt compelled to act when she saw the little girl telling her brother to stop. Angel turned to the villain and then to 𝗬𝗏𝗍, reassuring her that he was coming to save her while pointing his sword at Overhaul. 𝗬𝗏𝗍 expressed her relief that her brother was back to normal. Before they could engage in battle, they heard a beeping sound. 𝗲𝗏𝗻 cursed, wondering if the security system had been restored. As he suspected, the floors that had been blocked by the villains were now open, and all the heroes scattered throughout the tower saw the security robots shutting down in the city. An AI speaker announced that the island's security system was now operating in normal mode, and all security robots were returning home. Inside a hotel room, Sato noticed the robots going back and exclaimed that it was back to normal. Sirius confirmed that the phone lines were working again and showed his phone to Sato. In the reception hall, all the heroes were freed from their restraints, and a few confused villains were quickly overwhelmed by the heroes, who kicked and punched them into 𝗬𝗏𝗻𝗀. Civilians cheered for the heroes. All Might got up, thanking the young heroes, and noticed Flash running out of the room quickly, prompting him to follow. Back with Angel and the villains, after 𝗓𝗏𝗄 and Angel heard the announcement, they turned back to face the villains. Overhaul sent more spikes toward them, but Angel slashed them away while protecting 𝗓𝗏𝗄 from behind, who had freed herself from the metal. Meanwhile, Bane instructed 𝗲𝗏𝗻 to use his quirk to lift them toward the helicopter on the roof. 𝗲𝗏𝗻 nodded and used his quirk to elevate them. Angel saw them trying to escape and flew after them, while 𝗓𝗏𝗄 took the stairs. In the hallway, All Might managed to catch up with Flash, who had been running fast. Flash stopped when All Might called out to him, answering a phone call. All Might asked Melissa what was wrong. Flash listened closely as Melissa informed them that her father had been taken by the villains and that 𝗓𝗏𝗄 and Angel were going after them. Before All Might could respond, Flash grabbed the phone and asked Melissa which floor they were on. She informed him that they were at the top of the tower and that the villains were planning to escape using a helicopter. Flash reassured her that they would head there immediately, and All Might nodded in agreement as they raced toward the top. At the top of the tower, Bane, Overhaul, Wolfram, and the hacker arrived. Wolfram blocked the hole with metal to prevent Angel from following them. The hacker asked Bane about the remaining villains. Bane dismissed them, stating they were a lost cause and that they needed to leave before the security system activated again. The remaining villains hurried to the helicopter, ready for takeoff. David, in a weak voice, pleaded for Bane to end his suffering. Bane responded that he would add just a few more sins before making his wish come true, glancing at Overhaul, who was struggling to hold onto a little girl. Overhaul yelled at 𝗬𝗏𝗏 to stop struggling, but she bit his arm, causing him to yell in pain and release her. 𝗬𝗏𝗏 flapped her wings and flew back toward the door, but Overhaul quickly sent a rock cage from the ground to trap her. 𝗬𝗏𝗏 searched for a way out, realizing she was trapped. She looked back at Overhaul, who was advancing toward her, but Bane intervened, telling him to leave her be as they had what they came for. Overhaul protested, insisting that 𝗬𝗏𝗏 was crucial to their plans, but Bane simply stated that she was no longer useful and boarded the helicopter. Overhaul growled in anger, looking back at 𝗬𝗏𝗏 and vowing that if he couldn't have her, no one could. He touched the ground, sending spikes toward her, but 𝗬𝗏𝗏 closed her eyes and shielded herself with her wings. She called out for her brother in fear, but a black raven emerged from the ground, protecting her from the spikes. 𝗬𝗏𝗏 opened her eyes slowly and saw the raven covering her, pulling her back to safety. Overhaul was taken aback by the sudden appearance of the dark raven. 𝗬𝗏𝗏 was pulled into a dark void, falling but unafraid, recognizing the familiar magic. As the light reached her, 𝗬𝗏𝗏 found herself in the arms of someone she knew very well. She wrapped her little arms around the person's neck and cried on her shoulder. The person comforted her, petting her back, unaware that she was not a raven but Raven, who remarked that 𝗬𝗏𝗏 had almost had another nightmare. Pseudo, who was comforting 𝗬𝗏𝗏, used her healing magic on her back and asked Raven if she had informed Izuku about 𝗬𝗏𝗏's rescue. After Raven and Pseudo defeated the Scarecrow and saw that all security was back online, they had rushed to the top after receiving a magical message from Izuku, asking Raven to send one of her shadow ravens to the upper floor where 𝗬𝗏𝗏 had been kidnapped. Without hesitation, Raven used her magic to send one of her shadow ravens to the top tower to save 𝗬𝗏𝗏. Raven urged Pseudo to keep moving forward as they made their way to the top tower. At the top, after Bane placed David in the helicopter and was about to board, a voice called out for him to wait. Bane, Wolfram, and Overhaul turned to see 𝗓𝗏𝗄 leaning against the door. She demanded that they return the professor. Bane grinned, asking if she had come to take back the man who had committed wrongdoings. 𝗓𝗏𝗄 clarified that she had come to save the professor and charged at him, surrounded by pink electricity. Wolfram questioned her intention to save a criminal, firing another metal pillar along with Overhaul's spikes at her. 𝗓𝗏𝗄 dodged most of the attacks and was about to be struck by a spike when the ground shook. An angelic figure emerged, slashing at the spike and the metal pillars surrounding him. 𝗓𝗏𝗄 recognized the figure as Angel and felt a surge of hope. Angel urged her to focus on the fight, reminding her that there was no time for chatter. With determination, 𝗓𝗏𝗄 powered up her abilities, while Angel flapped his wings to create feathers that sliced through the metal trapping her. She realized that the enemy should not have been able to manipulate so much metal, especially when all he could touch was the helicopter. With a burst of energy, she ran along the metal pillars and leaped into the air, grabbing hold of the helicopter, causing it to tilt under her weight. David, surprised, looked at 𝗓𝗏𝗄 as Melissa made her way outside on the tower. She called out to them, seeing 𝗓𝗏𝗄 clinging to the helicopter and Angel flying up from behind. David, however, refused to be saved, insisting that 𝗓𝗏𝗄 stay away. She reminded him that Melissa was waiting for him below. 𝗏𝗏, watching the scene unfold, acknowledged 𝐒𝐭𝐻𝐿's heroism but insulted her intelligence, attempting to shoot her. David intervened, kicking 𝗏𝗏 and causing the bullet to ricochet off 𝐒𝐭𝐻𝐿's gauntlet instead. This made her lose her grip and fall, but Angel was there to catch her, though the impact caused him to falter and descend. Melissa ran towards them, calling out their names, while 𝗏𝗏 knocked David against the wall, rendering him unconscious. As the helicopter ascended higher, 𝗂𝐭𝐻 and Angel could only watch in frustration, their fists clenched in determination. Suddenly, a voice called out from behind them, encouraging Angel not to give up. They turned to see Flash, who used his powers to create a tornado that pulled the helicopter back down. The helicopter halted midair, and a shockwave emanated from the scene, causing the villains inside to look terrified. All Might appeared, declaring his intent to retrieve his friend from the villains. He zipped through the helicopter, which soon exploded, landing gracefully while holding David in his arms. Melissa rushed to her father, relieved to see him safe, while a piece of the broken helicopter fell and exploded in the background. David looked at his daughter, feeling a wave of relief wash over him as he saw 𝗂𝐭𝐻, Flash, and Angel smiling back at him. However, their moment of joy was cut short when a metal pillar punched All Might, shocking everyone present. Just then, the roof broke open, and metal cords and wires emerged, grabbing David and pulling him away. Melissa cried out as she watched her father being encased in a prison of metal, while a spike appeared to block their path. 𝗏𝗏, atop the metal structure and equipped with a quirk amplifier created by David, informed them that All Might's powers were failing. 𝗏𝗏, now transformed into a monstrous figure, expressed his excitement over their newfound strength, believing they could easily conquer the island. All Might refused to give up, launching himself at the villains, but 𝗏𝗏 stopped him with a metal shield that absorbed the impact. The surprise on All Might's face mirrored that of his allies. 𝗏𝗏 then launched a pillar at All Might, who struggled against it as the tower began to grow higher, showcasing the power of David's device. Melissa recognized the device's influence, while Flash noted that they had been outsmarted once again. Angel, grinning, anticipated an all-out battle. 𝗏𝗏 declared his intention to raise the value of the device by defeating the #1 hero, but All Might continued to evade his attacks. 𝗏𝗏 joined the fray, sending a dragon-like spike toward All Might, who was saved by Flash's quick thinking. As chaos erupted, Melissa found herself airborne, but 𝗂𝐭𝐻 swooped in to catch her, with Angel following closely behind. 𝗂𝐭𝐻 worried about All Might's condition, realizing he was reaching his limit. As All Might struggled to fight back, he was blocked by metal shields, and Flash attempted to keep him safe. The situation escalated, with spikes and metal bars raining down on them. Just when it seemed all hope was lost, a green blast, ice, and a barrage of projectiles intervened, halting the onslaught. 𝗏𝗏 shielded himself and 𝗏𝗏 from the incoming attacks, while Katsuki felt the strain of overusing his quirk. He shouted at All Might, questioning how he could be overwhelmed by such weak foes. All Might, recognizing Katsuki's voice, called out to him, and 𝗵𝗲 instructed everyone to handle the metal while the others focused on the villains. As the battle raged on, Angel scanned the area for his teammates, noting the absence of Raven, Stocking, Eri, Robin, and CB, but he remained focused on the fight ahead. He prayed that there were no obstacles and sighed in relief that Raven, Stocking, and Eri didn't come up here. All Might smiled broadly, feeling the motivation of his students surge within him. He declared that he couldn't be held back by any stupid limit while pushing back a metal pillar. Starf and 𝗵𝗲 were busy destroying more of those metal pillars with their magic bullets and green blasts. Flash emphasized the need to push past their limits and go beyond, his feet moving rapidly as red electricity crackled around him. All Might, alongside Rex, bit down on a pipe, while Shoto unleashed an ice wave, and Bakugo continued to fire his AP shots, all supporting one another with their quirks. All Might shouted, "Right, plus Ultra," as he leaped toward the villain, dodging metal pillars and spikes thrown at him while Flash cleared a path by destroying some of the obstacles. All Might raised his arms in an X and shouted, "Smash!" as he obliterated the metal pillar, creating a blinding light that momentarily stunned the enemy. When the light faded, 𝗲𝗏 and 𝗏𝗏 saw All Might ready to strike, but he was suddenly ensnared by a wire. Flash attempted to save him but tripped and fell into the same trap. All Might struggled, questioning if that was all the villain had, but was cut off as 𝗲𝗏 seized his neck. 𝗲𝗏 taunted him, suggesting he should take his own advice as his body glowed ominously. All Might felt a surge of power from 𝗲𝗏, realizing that his strength was growing. He coughed, but the villain's grip only tightened, causing All Might to wince in pain. The young heroes shouted in concern, trying to reach him, but were held back by the metal pillars and spikes that pushed them away. All Might thought about the power enhancing 𝗲𝗏's muscles and realized there were multiple quirks at play. He was struck by a chilling realization. 𝗲𝗏 revealed that during his boss's planning of the extortion, he had received a call from a notorious figure who wanted to collaborate. The figure had sinister intentions, and All Might's heart sank as he recognized the voice. All Might glared, recognizing the threat. 𝗲𝗏 smirked, noting that All Might had finally stopped smiling. In a fit of rage, All Might yelled out, but 𝗲𝗏 laughed and pushed him back with a metal pillar, causing everyone to gasp in shock, including Izuku, whose eyes widened in fear. However, an angelic presence touched her shoulder, igniting her powers to surpass her limits. 𝗏𝗏 prepared to strike All Might with a spike, but an angelic figure intervened. With a swift motion, the angel drew a sword and slashed through the metal pillars and spikes, trapping All Might and Flash. Izuku caught All Might and Flash as they appeared behind the angel. The angel asked if they were okay, and All Might coughed out a response, while Flash nodded, though he felt pain in his ankle and fell, only to be caught by All Might. Flash explained that he had dislocated his ankle, and the angel instructed them to take cover. The angel turned to face 𝗲𝗏 and 𝗏𝗏, assuring All Might and Flash that they would handle the situation. Izuku stood beside the angel, her hair glowing with pink energy, and Izuku's wings shone brightly. All Might wanted to warn the young heroes, but Flash chuckled, urging the angel to hold back on the villains. The angel smirked and asked if Izuku was ready. She smiled brightly at All Might, reassuring him that she was there to help, which filled him with pride. Izuku dashed forward while the angel soared toward the villains, wielding both the devil and Yamato swords. 𝗲𝗏 dismissed them as insignificant pests, while 𝗏𝗏 threatened them with his power. As they charged, Katsuki and Panty retaliated, blasting the incoming metal projectiles to pieces. Izuku and the angel skillfully dodged, slashing and punching through everything 𝗲𝗏 and 𝗏𝗏 hurled at them. The villains, growing increasingly furious, lifted all the metal into the air, forming a giant cube, while 𝗏𝗏 injected himself with a drag, transforming into a monstrous form. Momo and Kyoka, having recovered, looked up in shock at the giant metal cube forming in the sky. Kyoka gasped as she saw her friends fighting valiantly. Izuku leaped into the air, standing alongside the angel, both preparing for their next moves. They thought about overcoming the crisis before them and giving everything they had to save the people. With determination, they shouted in unison, declaring that they would be heroes. 𝗲𝗏 threatened to bring down the entire tower, launching the giant cube at them. The angel pulled back his sword while Izuku readied her fist, both glowing with power. In a climactic moment, they unleashed their attacks, cutting through the cube and striking 𝗏𝗏 and 𝗲𝗏 with tremendous force. The shockwave shattered the metal prison, freeing David's shield from his confinement. David looked at Izuku in midair, seeing the spirit of young All Might within her. The others watched in awe as everything 𝗲𝗏 and 𝗏𝗏 had built began to crumble. Lida expressed his amazement, noting that they had succeeded. Mineta cheered, celebrating their victory over the villain and the fact that they had saved their lives. Panty raised her fist high, shouting in excitement about Izuku's triumph. Bakugo, impressed, smiled briefly before turning away, grunting, but unable to hide his admiration for the angelic figure who was alive and well. Meanwhile, after the plane crash, Bane pushed 𝗏𝗏 and 𝗲𝗏 to overuse their quirks while he prepared to make his escape. He arrived at one of the decks and spotted a boat, smiling at the prospect of freedom until he heard his name called. Robin confronted him with arms crossed and a smirk, indicating that they were well aware of his plans. Bane, annoyed, used a drag that transformed his body, muscles bulging as he grinned confidently, questioning Robin's belief in defeating him alone. Robin admitted he wasn't alone, revealing 𝗬𝗵𝗲 with a cannon aimed at Bane. 𝗬𝗵𝗲 celebrated as he fired, but Bane blocked the blast with both hands. Suddenly, a dark fist appeared from the side, striking Bane's face. As Bane soared through the air, he noticed a shining sword that severed the drag's connection, causing him to land on the ground as a much slimmer man. The person who had delivered the blow landed gracefully, brushing her hair back. 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 smirked, declaring victory while enjoying a lollipop. Bane, defeated, lay down, acknowledging his loss. After the battle, the Justice League arrived to find the villains in cuffs. The Teen Titans, students, All Might, and Flash were in the medical room tending to their injuries, visited by members of the Justice League. 𝐻G carried Aerie in her arms while Wonder Woman praised the girls for their bravery and intelligence, making them blush. The boys received compliments from Superman, Green Lantern, and John, while Batman merely smirked, causing sweat to bead on the U. Boys, CB and BB. David spoke with Melissa about his confusion regarding the events that had transpired, and Melissa nodded in understanding, promising to wait for her father. That night, after everyone had healed, All Might and the Justice League hosted a barbecue party for Class 1A and the Teen Titans. They enjoyed food, drinks, laughter, and a lively atmosphere, except for two individuals who stood on a wooden plank, gazing at the sea and conversing. Izuku and Katsuki exchanged thoughts, with Katsuki asking about Inko's absence. Izuku nodded, looking up at the sky, confirming her departure. Katsuki sighed and began to walk away, but Izuku called out, asking him to keep their conversation a secret from his parents. Katsuki grumbled that he kept many secrets, assuring Izuku that his was just a small one. Izuku smiled in response, and Katsuki bid him farewell. As Katsuki walked away, he noticed 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 standing by the light pillars. He sighed and moved past her, heading toward Izuku. 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 smiled and approached Izuku, who was lost in thought, staring at the sea. He turned around to find 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 standing before him. She moved closer, and Izuku braced himself for a potential reprimand, but instead, 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 surprised him by wrapping her arms around his neck and giving him a sweet kiss. Izuku's eyes widened in shock as 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 pulled back, looking at him with a gentle smile. He stammered, questioning her actions, but she silenced him with a finger on his lips. 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 revealed that she knew about his past from Raven and understood his feelings of guilt. Izuku apologized, but 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 kissed him again, reassuring him that she forgave him and was okay with Raven's agreement. She whispered a playful suggestion about sharing him and hinted at a fun night ahead, causing Izuku to blush at her affectionate gaze. Later that night, the Justice League, Class 1A, Teen Titans, and All Might settled into their respective rooms. In one room, Izuku found himself in the middle of a peaceful slumber, flanked by 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 and Raven, both resting soundly after their enjoyable evening. Suddenly, a bright light illuminated the room, and in an instant, Izuku, 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 and Raven vanished, leaving their clothes scattered on the floor. In the woods, Izuku, Raven, and 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 remained asleep on the ground until a cold breeze stirred Izuku awake. Confused, he sat up to find the ceiling replaced by a blue sky. He looked around, realizing they were in a forest with their clothes hanging from a tree. A growl echoed from the woods, and he turned to see a variety of demons surrounding them. Izuku exclaimed in disbelief, grappling with the unexpected situation. Next time, the adventure of Izuku, Raven, and 𝗧𝗏𝗵𝗲 continues in a mysterious castle filled with challenges and surprises. A girl, undeterred by the eerie surroundings, approached the imposing castle, her heart racing at the sight of its grandeur. She knocked on the heavy door, waiting for a moment before it creaked open, revealing a shadowy figure watching her from above. Lisa introduced herself, ready to face whatever awaited her within the castle's depths. Lisa aspired to be a doctor. As she stood on the stairs, a man appeared like a ghost, and she heard a voice. The man spoke, questioning her intentions for knocking on his door, suggesting she wanted to smear chicken BLD on peasants. Frustrated, Lisa looked down, feeling misunderstood. She asserted her belief in science, but admitted she needed to know more. Having exhausted her other options, she mentioned the stories of a man who lived there possessing secret knowledge. The man introduced himself as 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 many visitors and inquired what she had to offer in exchange for his knowledge. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 paused, turning to face him. She suggested that perhaps she could help him relearn some manners, pointing out that he hadn't offered her a drink or even to take her coat after she crossed the threshold of his home. Vlad teased her, asking if he should take a drink from her instead, playfully referencing her possible superstitions. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 gasped, admitting she might have eaten some roasted garlic earlier, feeling slightly embarrassed. She clarified that she was not interested in superstition or being a wise woman. Vlad chuckled, amused by her response as he circled around her, mentioning how people often cheated others with superstitions. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 expressed her longing to heal people and learn, asking if he would help her. Vlad observed that she was different from most humans he had encountered in recent times. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 suggested that perhaps she could teach him to like people again, or at least tolerate them, referencing the skeletons outside the castle. Vlad chuckled, claiming he had given that up long ago as he walked away, prompting 𝗧𝗵𝗲 to follow him. Curious, she asked if he traveled much. Vlad explained that he could travel, indicating his castle was a traveling machine. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 pointed out that he didn't seem to travel, implying he didn't like humans very much. She encouraged him to explore the changing world. Vlad paused, considering her words. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 urged him to travel like people do, suggesting he might enjoy it. Vlad raised an eyebrow, noting that they had only known each other for 2 minutes, yet she was offering him the chance to walk the earth like an ordinary peasant. He reminded her that he could provide her with the knowledge of immortals and true science. He then revealed a room filled with advanced scientific books and equipment, leaving 𝗧𝗵𝗲 in awe. She marveled at the sight, realizing that if he taught people, they would no longer be peasants. They could live longer, less fearful lives with real medicine, free from superstition. Vlad questioned why he should help, curious about her motivation. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 smiled, stating that it was to make the world better, starting with her, and in turn he would benefit as well. Vlad, who had lived for 100 years, was surprised by her perspective, reminiscent of 𝗬𝗓𝗵𝗲, the first woman he had loved. He bowed slightly, admitting that he might like her, and led her to his study. As 𝗧𝗵𝗲 smiled, she felt a connection to Vlad, sensing a side of him she had never seen before. Over the course of a year, they became good friends, lovers, and eventually husband and wife. However, love often faced challenges, and history seemed poised to repeat itself. In 𝗕𝗏𝗧 𝗏𝗏, in 1475, a crowd gathered in front of the city square gate, watching as 𝗧𝗵𝗲 was tied to a stake, accused by a bishop of creating strange medicine.